DDG episode 75. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick. You're muted.
Sorry, I still forget this Elgato is super sensitive, so when I move it, sometimes it just mutes. How's it going, Dave? How's it going?
I'm all right. And if you're watching us live on Twitch, you see a third box. And that third box is Mr. Josh Langford.
Hey.
Our former co-host at a separate network or website, whatever you want to call it. So
whatever it was.
Yeah. So we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming. Typically on Tuesdays at 5, but Josh doesn't like to do stuff before dark. So, with my work schedule, it actually worked out really well. Everything kind of aligned. I've got some funky schedule with work and inventory this week, and it also means it's easier for Josh, who has a family, to come downstairs at night and record. So this helps, and everything lined up, and we were able to bring him on the show with us. So thank you for joining us tonight. So
yeah, he's confined to a chair right now, so he had no choice. he's trapped right now in his basement.
Yeah, I am.
And his hair is tied to the back of the chair.
Just about. I mean, I could at this point. It's past my shoulders, so
So how's your lockdown going, Josh? How's the last month or so been for Mr. Langford?
Well, we haven't talked to him in like 8 months, at least. He's been on our show a couple times, but we haven't
on the show.
Yeah, we periodically talk to him, probably about once a month. For like once a month for 3 or 4 days. Everything kind of goes up and down, and we'll be talking to each other on a pretty regular basis, and then it'll just teeter off, and then we'll pick it back up again for whatever reason.
But so yeah, I've been living in the basement since mid-February when I broke my ankle. So that's been my life. We have one of our couches down here folds out into a bed. So I've been living on that, and my wife said, "This is perfect. You can be down here, not bother me." Because I've got the bed, I've got a shower with a bench in it. That's built-in bench, so I can actually use that. And I've got my computer, so I can still work, which is nice. I can do all my work through Zoom if I have to. So I've been able to keep working. But it's been all different weird levels of pain for the past month and a half, 2 months, and it's going to continue for another month or so before I can start walking again.
Did this happen because lockdowns got let go and you just ran out your front door and were like, I'm gonna live, and then it just backfired?
This was what happens when you go buy a physical disc of a video game. See, this is what happens to you.
No, I get those delivered. Come on, I haven't been out to buy anything. No, this was my wife saying, "Hey, I slipped on the ice on my way to the bus this morning. So could you go out and salt the steps? Because she slipped like 3 blocks from our house."
Mm-hmm.
And
did she walk down the same steps that you walked down?
Yes.
So she's just more coordinated than you are.
No, she went straight down the path. I was going to the left to go into the garage. Yeah. My problem is by the time I got out there, I walked out the garage. Mm-hmm. If I had just gone upstairs, because I was in the basement when she texted me. If I had been upstairs and I had looked out the front door, I would have said, "There's no ice there. It's just water. Fuck that." And just not gone out. But I went out the garage. I stepped right over this black ice that was on a flagstone that's built into our walkway. There's a bunch of flagstones there, and I know they get icy, and I didn't even think about it. I stepped right past it, went up the steps with a cup full of rock salt. All I saw was water, and I'm like, And I turned around, came right down the steps, and stepped on that ice, and my ankle went sideways, and my leg was still straight, and rock salt went flying, hit everywhere except the ice, and I was down, and that was that. So yeah, it was ugly. And I don't let her forget that she's the reason why this happened. and that I will never go out and put rock salt on anything again.
So for those of you that are new, that have maybe only been here the last couple of months, Josh, myself, and Michael all kind of co-hosted a show together at PS Nation, now retired and gone. That
yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, that we were together. I think 14 or 16 months. Something around that time frame, and we had everybody thought we had a really good chemistry, and then a bunch of stuff changed for Josh, and then a bunch of stuff changed for us, and then Digital Days came around, and we can periodically poke Josh and convince him to come on the show. He would have been on sooner. Actually, we'd been talking about this for about 2 months, but then what he just explained to you happened, and that pretty much delayed everything. So
yeah.
So
it's been an adventure.
But again, if this is your first time listening to us, please consider subscribing, following on Twitch, however you're seeing it. It would be super helpful. You can leave us a review, share the show, click on the show notes for all the community stuff: Discord, Facebook, Patreon, PayPal, all of it is there. Teesprings is there. Everything is there. If you want a shirt, hoodie, whatever you need, all the links are in the show notes. And we're going to go through a couple. It's a little bit of a light news week, which is great because we'll get to hear some stuff from Josh that I'm sure Michael and I have some questions for him. And we did get a couple questions from the community. So we're going to go through a couple news bulletins really quick. I think we're going to have an interesting discussion on the last one, including Josh, because this is something that he is a fan of. And other than that, I'm just going to throw it right back over to Michael.
All right, first news story. This was a little bit of a funny one. So Video Game Chronicles, who's been breaking all of the E3 2021 news, came out last week and said that the ESA were shopping to different publishers because they're trying to get all the publishers and developers to sign a 6-figure contract to be able to present at E3. And one of the things that they were pitching was the idea that they would charge people for the digital event to attend the digital event and see the streams, which isn't unheard of. BlizzCon used to do this for years. I remember seeing the DirecTV ads for BlizzCon every single year, but they were looking for ways to charge people to virtually attend the event, the showcases. Specifically, they were partnering with GeForce Now with NVIDIA to allow live demos to happen and then to coordinate to do kind of what we've seen me and Dave last year, where companies will hold demos with developers through was it Parsec?
Yeah,
I think it's called
Parsec. Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like they were pitching that basically, but that they were going to charge for some sort of fee,
which again is super fascinating to me because most of these companies already have systems in place the last 12, 14 months to do this, and they don't need NVIDIA's service to do it.
Yeah. Well, this is so the ESA came out and was like, don't worry, the showcase will be a free event for everybody. But they use the word showcase specifically, which means that they're probably still going to try something. And they basically try to refute the story that this was happening. But Video Game Chronicles has been very clear of being like, ESA is still pitching ideas. They didn't say this was happening for sure, but they're in on all the pitches that the ESA have been doing. And it sounds like the ESA has been having quite a difficult time to where some publishers have agreed to like, okay, we'll be with you, but we're saving our big announcements for our own thing.
Yeah.
And now that they're struggling to people. Well, originally back in February, they were saying that, if you wanted to be at Digital E3 as a publisher, it would cost at least a bare minimum of 6 figures.
Right. So now they're telling a studio whether they have the ability or don't have the ability to do their own similar digital showcase through their own Twitch channels and YouTube channels, which we've seen tons of them do with massive success. They're telling them, okay, you can pay to be a part of our E3, and then we're going to charge people to see the part that you just paid us for. So it just gives.
Yeah, so we're making money on both ends.
Yeah, it just makes you look terrible.
Yeah. So the event's still going to happen, but we just don't know in what form. We're going to say, Josh.
I'm saying they're in a really bad place right now. I mean, E3, the pandemic came along at just the wrong time for them. I mean, they were already in trouble with EA leaving and Sony leaving, and somebody else big didn't they? Who was the third one?
I mean, Microsoft kind of just like went across the street. But
okay.
you know,
Yeah,
like
they
so
weren't
they
in the
went
floor,
they went
but
across the street. But like Activision came off the show floor.
Yeah. So everybody was starting to say, why are we spending all this money to be here? And they were watching, you know, Nintendo was always there too, but Nintendo would always do their direct and all that stuff. And once the pandemic hit, all the companies started doing everything online with just doing virtual stuff anyway. And they said, well, why are we paying for this event when we could do this? I mean, I don't know.
When you can,
in a year,
why,
2 years,
like why pay for the event though when you can host your own event on Twitch and then essentially already use is a bad word, but already like reach out to content creators that have successful followings that are fans of a said game or a said genre and just say, hey, will you host us? And they're going to, because if it's something they're interested in, like in general, like they're gonna, like if a streamer or content creator is watching a virtual E3 or a company reveal something that they're interested in the game, they're going to watch it anyways, and they're going to host the channel, or they're going to, you know, so like, why do they need to pay E3 to do something? They don't.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, in 2 years, 3 years, when everything settles and everybody's back, what does E3 look like? Like, do they try to go back to what it was and hope that they can bring everybody back in and make it what it was before? Or have the publishers at this point decided, why bother?
Well,
why spend all that money?
I still think that you're not going to be able to replace. I think E3 might go back to what it was like when you went early on, of where it's going to be a lot more media. Like you can't. Companies can't replace the, you know, hundreds of media members in one spot instead of them individually having to bring them out there.
Well, I think that's why last year they were pitching that hybrid event where it's like, yeah, there'll be a media day, but then there's going to be 2 days of influencer installations to where it's like, oh, here's the Lakers playing Call of Duty on the floor, and they were going to do like, you know, like the monster stage, and they were trying to do basically like Instagrammable moment type of scenarios to where that's what they were pitching, is just like, let's just do shit for influencers so they can take their photo, do their videos, and then the media will just be upstairs. Like that was the E3 that was supposed to happen last year before they just had to pull the plug. I think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get like a Comic-Con like experience to where we saw it mine and Dave's last E3. There were a couple like vendors straight up to selling t-shirts. Like there were multiple areas on the floor.
You and I had to go onto one of the halls like 3 times in total to play a game.
Yeah.
Like everything else was offsite in hotels. I spent more time at the hotel across the street. I can't think of the name right now, but like
the Marriott.
Yeah. In individual hotel, like we saw Pacer in a hotel room, we saw Riggs in a hotel room. Like they were there, but they weren't in the convention center.
Yeah. Well, it's the moment, and they were looking for more money because they lost all that money when the big publishers walked off the floor, but they were looking for more money and brought in the public, and everybody who was left was like, fuck you. We don't like this. So, I mean, they're
and they
really
ran away from the show floor. Like, you know, Activision, instead of doing their big booth that already had, you know, and E3 was still like, it was in air quotes open to the public. If you wanted to get a badge to E3, like you could have, like if you knew somebody, like there was a way that people could go to E3 years ago that, you know, versus just going online and buying a ticket is I guess was the biggest thing that changed, is that anybody could do that. But there were plenty of people, like we've always ran into people at E3 that had, oh, I'm just here to check out this stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, like if you worked in the industry, there was a way for you to buy a badge. You just had to prove you were in the industry in some form, and you had people that were on the fringes of the industry that were able to get in. And most time, like if you start a blog 6 months before E3, there's a chance you can get in, especially the last 2 years when they were desperate to get people on the floor. You could get in with the barest of credentials. And then they just moved into where they sold tickets. Except I talked to a ton of people when I went that, you know, like I would get into lines every once in a while and then just talk to people. You know, it's like, is this fun? And they're just like, well, I'm gonna wait in this Nintendo line for 7 hours. I'm gonna go get lunch, and then I'm gonna come back and buy a T-shirt. And like that was their day.
Wow.
Like, and there are people that were totally into that because there is like the video game world, has that
I was
that
there.
FOMO.
Yeah.
The I was there. They sold those T-shirts, and I saw a lot of people wearing. I was at E3 2020 or whatever, or 2019. So there's a market for that. It's just going to be, can they get people? The point of an E3 is to play video games, and the problem they're having now is like, can they get video games to actually be there, or are they going to have to rely on influencers?
It's so hard. I mean, like, because Josh he was super involved in the same stuff that we're talking about until about 2 years ago. But like, I think that he might be fascinated to hear that like all the Ubisoft things that we used to go to, that I'd go to San Francisco for like 48 hours. I sat in this chair and I played Immortals for 6 hours before it came out. Like with an Xbox controller on Discord, talking to a guide, just like it felt exactly like being in a cubicle in San Francisco at one of their events, and the guy was right behind me, like but he was in my ear on Discord, and I'm playing the game, and I had a good enough PC, like I sent them all my stuff, and they would test the connection. They're like, all right, this will work. Let's go.
That's awesome.
So
my favorite part is when I did the Watch Dogs one. There was at one point. They would just let you play, and it would be like, yeah, 4 hours to play Watch Dogs. And I remember at one point, I'm like, excuse me, are you still there? I have to go to the bathroom. And then I just heard like a scramble because he probably had his feet up, like reading his phone. And I just heard like a scramble, like, oh okay, yeah, just be back real quick. And I'm just like, all right, cool. And just like muted my mic and then went away. But yeah, that's how companies did their stuff last year. And the tech is there.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I don't think that it's just from a cost standpoint, like it's gonna be like that for the most part. Like I would be fascinated, like and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing like my friends like Paris and Khalif and all these other people that I get to bump into and hang out and see at these events. But at the same time, like that would just physically kill me to go to San Francisco. I'd spend more time in an airplane than I would playing the game. Like,
oh, dude, that last time I went out for
yeah, you did like that big Sony VR event, right?
Well, it wasn't even the VR event. It was, they had Dreams. They had
the pre-E3 thing or something. Yeah, like almost like a pre-Judges week almost.
But I left at 6 a.m. I left on a flight at 6 a.m. from Newark Airport, went out, was there in Santa Monica for the day, and got on a plane that night at 9 p.m. to come home, and I was back at 5 a.m. the next day. So it was literally 24 hours.
You can't tell me whatever tech they're using is more expensive than flying 150 people back and forth.
Yeah.
The only problem they had, from what I understand, like the early stuff when I did the Watchdog stuff, is like they literally have to have someone on a computer that has the game going. So it's just a matter of they share their screen or give control, remote control to you. Is just I think they would only get like 10, maybe 15 people at the time, because that's all they could afford in terms of like having a demoist, I believe they called them, at a computer to run you through the game and troubleshoot if something broke. So those companies would probably have to hire. We saw
more sessions though, like in the emails. Like I had options from 8 a.m. to noon, noon to 4, 4 to 6, or 4 to 8, 8 to midnight. Like there was like more time frames.
Yeah.
The only difference is like when we go to E3, you would have a person giving you a demo and you would ask them about the game, and they're like, "Oh no, they just hired me this morning from a temp agency, and showed me how to play this 2-minute chunk."
Yeah.
They can't afford to do that with the way they do it, because they'd have to give early code to a temp, and they won't do that.
Right.
So they're just have to go through like either you take time from an actual developer, or you like hire more PR people to then get them set up to do this from home. But I wouldn't be surprised if a big company like an Ubisoft just uses their office space, and then they'll just have a demoist like room, and just this is where we put the 20 demoists to spend the entire week getting out as many PR people, like media people in and out.
Mike, I think it's because you were sent to like all the shitty games when you were at E3. Because when I sat with people, it was always like, oh yeah, and we did this and we did. Hey, check this out.
There's
that's
when you
Easter egg back here.
No, that would happen for sure. But like I remember, me and you, we went to see Hitman, and then we went to go see Lego Villains.
Yeah. Well, that was
None
Warner
of those,
Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, none of those people worked for Warner Brothers, and I would
Yeah.
talk to them, and then it would be like, oh yeah, I'm like the one guy I talked to, he was like, yeah, like I'm trying to model and I'm trying to act. I do this. This is really fun.
Yeah, Ubisoft always,
like,
and I don't want to keep referencing them, but Ubisoft always handled it like when we play like Ghost Recon or something like that, like a 4, you'd be okay, or when Josh and I were playing like Skull and Bones, there was like 4 or 6 of us on the same team, and we had like a team coach, and that team coach was like, hey, walk over there and hit A. Like,
yeah, but that's like one person managing a bunch of people, as opposed to being like, here's a PC that you're remoting into that one person's controlling. That could be costly for them.
Yeah, that was interesting. That did Skull and Bones ever come out?
No, it's still being worked on. Like they've actually talked about it, but it's not. I think it's being completely revamped. Actually, I think it was only built for a PvP experience. And I think that all the feedback they were getting, even from people like you and me, was like, all right, this is really cool, but like, can I be my own pirate and not worry about getting looted? They're like, well, no, not really. I'm like, well, that's kind of sucky. And they're like, and so I think they left there like, okay, I think we really got to make a PvE thing.
Yeah, it's funny because that whole Ubisoft that appointment, like the Trials was developers. That crazy game that I can never remember the name of, that was VR and not VR, like Remembrance or something like that. I forget what it was.
Transference or something like that.
Whatever it was. Yeah, that was the developers.
Yeah.
The Starlink, that might have been
that was Ubi PR and a dev, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But they kind of like have one big space, and you walk in a door, and inside that door there's like 6 computers or 6 stations, and then there's 2 people in there that are either PR or the devs. I mean, I think it also depend on the time of day too. Like and Josh has done this 100 times probably. Walking into one appointment where it's like, hey, this is the guy that made the game, and you're like, oh, cool. And then the next time is like, oh, this is, like Michael said, this is a guy we hired off the street at 8:00 this morning. So,
Well, that's like cool story, and I think I told this before somewhere. That I went in to see Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
Closed door session right when they announced it. And as we're sitting there, the guy that plays Connor walked in, and he watched the whole session. And then as everybody was leaving, I walked up to talk to him, and Sony PR was like, whoa. I was like, I just want to say hi, and I'm not getting in anything. And so I got to know him a little bit. And then every time I saw him, he's like, hey, yeah. And that's how I ended up taking pictures with him. And I met his now wife, and it's really cool because I got like a connection with him, and not and I think that was just random that he walked in when I happened to be there.
Well, to circle back to what we're talking about, I don't think that you can, once the pandemic is over, I don't think you can replace face-to-face interaction. Like, you can't, like, in terms of like even small little things like that. Like, it's just, and that's just an example of like, hands-on impressions. Like, yes, like like so many people, and I'm using Immortals as an example because it's mainly the thing that we got to cover extensively. But like, I was telling people like, this is really cool and I'm enjoying this, and it's just, I felt like the hype wasn't there as much as if like 20 of us were in a room playing it, talking about what we enjoyed, and then feeding off of each other a little bit. And then the game came out, and people are like, wow, this is really good. And it could have just been a combination of Immortals was kind of like that surprise hit. And and it did really well, but there was so much conversation around Immortals. And I wonder if that would have been better if that could have been more hands-on impression, or they could have really shown it, and the public maybe could have got to mess with it a little bit at a regular E3. Because Immortals Phoenix Rising, Josh, is what was Gods and Monsters. Which,
I have it. I haven't touched it yet.
It's great.
But yeah, when you were talking about that, when you started all that, it reminded me about the face-to-face. You get a ton of interactions. Like when you're done and you have a couple minutes and you can talk to the developer, you can talk to the producer, you can talk to, one of the artists, and just get a little bit more that you couldn't get if you're sitting at your computer at your house with whoever on the other end running the demo. So,
yeah, because I'm constantly, I was
do get
constantly
that.
like asking like an email, like, hey, can, because like all the time when I get a game session, like, hey, you got 5 minutes so you can do an interview really quick, like, and then I feel like that's definitely lost in the, okay, like you're in the room, all right, play, okay, your time's up, boom, out of the room, we got to put somebody else in the room, and like, and that's fine. Like I love the opportunities that we're experienced with, but it's more or less that, seeing somebody like, hey, and then again, like just the visual recognition of like, oh, I remember him, like he actually like follows the rules and interviews correctly versus my name on a piece of paper. Like
I had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Oh, you okay? Yeah, you can come here. You fuck off.
So, all right, let's move on to the next one, Michael.
Yeah. So this is just a quick story. Me and Dave talked about this for a while when the news first came out about like the actors and when the show is going to come out. But the Last of Us HBO show, it's going to start filming in Calgary in 2021. The Calgary Union for Film and Stage Technicians actually put the timeline on how long filming and production is going to take, and it's going to go from July 2021 to June 2022. So it's going to be a full year of production. So I guess that puts us in a timeline of like maybe winter 2022, 2020, like spring 2023 for The Last of Us, which is kind of crazy. But I thought it was interesting because it at least shows you that they're going all in with this. Like HBO probably needs to go all in with this because they need something to fill that Game of Thrones void. I don't know if this will fill that, but it at least shows that like, okay, we're going to take our time and put as much effort to make this a hit as possible. This also could be like the actors are busy, like Pedro Pascal is a busy person, so they might need to give him a break so he can do other things. But way
but
longer
he
time
let
than
somebody
I thought.
else act at this point.
No, it's
somebody
just
else act.
It's just Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac.
It's like the Troy Baker of acting now.
Yeah.
Like,
And you know what? He's probably going to be Oscar Isaac is probably going to be his brother.
Well,
but
like how much, like this time frame, Michael, how much, and Josh, I guess for this matter, how much do you think this affects in the game? I almost feel like either game, 60 or 70% is outside. So how much are the actual seasons like of filming this? Like winter is a factor, and
it's a big part of the game, though.
Right, and so
it's
like
a big part of both games.
Correct, and so that's what I'm saying is that do they need this almost full calendar year to film the correct things at the correct maybe not in the correct order, but in the order that they release them, and they need to have the season changes.
But you can fake the seasons. Like it seems more costly to spread this out than to do it all on a soundstage, but I guess they're going for an authenticity that they want to do. And who knows, this production timeline could be like there's a shit ton of post-production that they have to account for.
Well,
like the
to
clickers,
make the clickers
yeah, they might all be CGIs for all we know.
And then plus with like you said too, with the pandemic going on, like getting into Canada is not easy.
Yeah.
So
but the thing is, by putting them on this year thing, Canada's not letting you bounce back and forth between Canada and the States. So the idea that there's like a year production, they put a time window just to deal with the fact that people are gonna have to quarantine when they get back in. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Kind of crazy.
I'm excited for that. I mean, I like that they're doing it like this because for a game like that, it makes more sense to have for a lot of games. It makes more sense to do it as a mini series than as a movie. And there's a lot of them like that I want to see a BioShock miniseries. Or a BioShock series.
They've said too, I thought I saw some headlines, Michael, where they've kind of hinted at it's going to follow the framework of the first game, but it will veer off some.
Yeah, they've already pretty much said that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about what timeline we think they would try to focus on. And it's interesting to me that they are saying that the first game is a heavy focal point for it, just because I think that's kind of a story that's already told, and I would love to see them kind of go deeper into some of the other stuff. But I think at the same time, like they already know that this works.
But there's millions of people out there who have no idea what this is.
Right, but that gets into what I talked about before of like, are they going to turn this show on?
Yeah, I think they will, because Walking Dead is massive, and if you position this right, because Walking Dead is
that's what
has
like
one
Michael
more
was
season.
that's what Michael was explaining to me in terms of like marketing and like with HBO
Yeah.
Max and I get that, but I just like I'd said before, and I don't want to rehash it. Like if I go to my neighbor, they kind of know what Game of Thrones is because of the success of the show, and then it also tied to something else. My neighbor might not know that Last of Us is a video game. That's all.
But when Game of Thrones came out, nobody but the nerds who read the book had any idea what it was.
Leak Harvest had to tell me that like this TV show Game of Thrones is being made, and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. And like
I was playing games of Bleak last week, for the record.
yeah.
It was the nerds reading the books that were like, oh my god, and then it came out and everybody went.
Trust me, like I hope this is successful and the Last of Us show goes 8, 9, 10 seasons like Game of Thrones did, because I want to know more about this world. So like I'm 100% down from it being successful. I'm just concerned, like the aura around licensed video games into TV shows or movies is not superb.
But I have faith in this because HBO needs content. They're putting a lot of money into stuff like this, and it's got Neil Druckmann and somebody else are doing the writing for it.
Right.
So,
the from Chernobyl.
The guy from Chernobyl. Yeah. So I don't really have any concerns about this being pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and I don't feel like you sign Pedro Pascal and waste his time.
Yeah.
You know, like you sign him, and you probably sign him to like the old Hollywood deals of like, here's a 4-picture deal and a TV show deal. So you probably put him on this, and he has like a long-term deal with Warner Brothers now, to where it's just like they have to make this work, and then they'll move him on to something else later. All right, I'm gonna throw a little curveball in here just because we have Josh here, so Josh will
curveball.
He'll complain with me about stuff. So Josh, as you know, the PS3, PSP, and Vita store are closing in July and August. Video Games Chronicle put out a post where they did the numbers and they actually counted all the games that are disappearing, and the total number of digital-only games that will disappear is 2,200. The numbers break down to 630 digital-only Vita games, 730 digital-only PS3 games, 293 PlayStation Minis, 336 PS2 Classics, and 260 PS1 Classics are all going to disappear. There's a good chunk of games that you might be able to get that were remastered, available PS Now, available on PC, could have had a physical release, but there's a ton of games that are going to disappear, and these numbers aren't even the fully accurate ones. They even put in the article, they had a difficult time calculating it because the web store is closed, and they had to use the old-ass PS3 store, so they said their numbers aren't going to be that accurate because that store is trash. But it is a ton of games, and the crazy response that's happened to this is those 336 PS2 Classics and those 260 PS1 Classics. If you go on eBay right now and look up any of those games, their eBay price has shot up like fucking crazy. Because Josh will probably remember this. When they started to release PS1 Classics and PS2 Classics, the physical edition prices dropped dramatically because it fucked up
Final Fantasy VII, Black Disc, not greatest hits edition, which I have. I sat on that and I wavered several times about should I sell it, and I never did. And then they brought it out as a PS1 Classic, and the price dropped dramatically.
Yeah. And guess what? Those fucking
Eve.
Prices are Parasite Eve. Those prices are skyrocketed right now, to where like I think I was looking, Klonoa I think was like $400 on eBay.
Oh, shit.
Like Toomba was like $250, and like Toomba was always pricey, but like I remember 2-3 years ago I was looking at Toomba and it was like $85, and now it's back up to like over $200-$300 range. So there's going to be a mad dash. Like Sony's probably going to make so much money in the next like 2 months off crazy people like me, who is just going to like buy a shit ton of PS1 and PS2 games and change the CMOS battery in my PS3 to make sure I'm good there. But yeah, Josh, any thoughts on this, Mr. Physical Discman?
So I don't know if you saw there was another thing where it was broken down right down to the games that you can't get anywhere else. So a lot of those games,
it was like 600 games, right?
No, it's it's like 130 or so. It's only like 130.
Yeah, that aren't available anywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I looked through that list and I was like, "Ooh, I got most of them." And the other ones I didn't really care for anyway.
138 PlayStation games you won't be able to get somewhere else. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So, I don't know. Sony's basically telling everybody, "Hey, it's okay to pirate now," you know?
And yeah, they're basically opening them up for that, unless they have some master plan, which I still see fans like, "Oh, there's a master plan," and there isn't.
Careful, Josh.
People are
upset when we talk about like actual factual things against Sony right now. People get upset with us.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be here for that fallout. So fuck you guys.
It's because like, and we'll talk about it with you a little bit, but it's two companies going two completely different directions.
Oh yeah,
and they're just like Sony's like, sorry, we're closing the stores, and we don't really have a plan for any of that. And Microsoft's like, we're diligently trying to work to figure out how to get a 360 game to work on this next system, and so you can just put the disc in. And we're like, and everybody that listens to the show, you know me, I don't care. Like, it does not matter to me. Any of those games that Michael listed, I don't know what you're talking about. And like,
you don't care about Trash Panic, you son of a bitch.
Panic, dude. That's one I never bought.
But I understand that there's people like Michael Michael will have this little 6-month run where he wants to play all these games for a little while, and after that he'll be done with it. And then there's physical Josh, and that's fine. Like and I think that at this point in time, like, if you want to be this person that wants to be able to have your physical media and play your stuff, you need to buy an Xbox.
Well, see, now here's the thing. So before all this happened, before all this crazy shit fell, I have one of my PS3s here on the desk.
He did what I did, probably.
No, well, I went to turn it on because I wanted to play MotorStorm.
Okay.
And I put the disc in, and it tried to read it, and spit it out. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I looked at the disc, and I'm like, the disc is fine. Then I took Red Dead Redemption, which I had been playing on this, and I put that in, tried to read it, spit it out. And I'm like, holy shit, my disc drive is dead in this thing. And
which is partially what's wrong with my PS3, if it even still turns on.
So I started to look into replacing that, and I was like, I don't have time for this right now. I don't want to deal with this, because I have at least two other, maybe three other PS3s in the house somewhere. And one is the Super Slim.
Mm-hmm. Which one? The sliding
super
tray one?
Slim. Yeah. The
I hate that
grill.
one.
Yeah. The Foreman grill. But I got that to have it and to have it upstairs in the bedroom, because then I could just pop discs in.
Isn't that the one that came with like 150 gig drive or something? It was so small when
which is why I use it for discs only mainly. But it's worrying. It's who's running PlayStation now? Is Jim Ryan?
Jim Ryan.
Who hates backwards compatibility. He's
exactly.
Multiple times said it. Yeah.
And this is why there is no master plan here. They're just abandoning everything. And why, they're telling everybody, go pirate like mad, because we're going to shut all this down. It's going to disappear. You're going to have no access to it if you didn't buy it. So pirate the fuck out of it, because we don't care anymore. And I'd like to see them try to come after people because they're basically saying, we don't want your money anymore. Mm-hmm. Fuck off. So go pirate it. Have fun. It upsets me, and I saw there was like a Vita game that was being made, and the person they were like, well, I didn't know this was happening, and I don't have time to finish this. So fuck it.
Like
and they canceled it.
Monday morning, they were working on the Vita project, and then they found out when we found out the drop dead date for the store, and they're like, well, I'm not going to be done by then.
Yeah. I'm going to interview someone Monday that is his Vita game is currently in certification right now. And now he only has like 3 months for this game to get sales. Luckily, he's releasing it on the Switch as well, so he'll be fine there. But it's crazy.
It's definitely
I just want to pull
really
this up
poor communication. Like, just really
it's
poor
upsetting. Yeah. It's upsetting because, I think it's, if I look back on it, it's almost like the PS3 fucked everything up. Because
that's why you need to use my idea and just get the plug-in cell processor and plug it in the back of your PS5 and it'll just work.
Yes. they they started with backward compatibility on the PS3, if you remember. And then to cut costs, they pulled the chip out and tried to do software emulation, and that kind of worked, but didn't fully work, and they didn't want to put a lot of time and effort into it. And then they just pulled it out entirely, and they were just like, fuck it, we can't do this.
Yeah.
And they kind of gave up on that. And then the PS4 comes along, and they're like, oh, we can't. Fuck, the PS3 is a big fucking mess. We can't make that work on the PS4 because we just changed the whole architecture. And that right there screwed everything up. Because from PS1 to PS2, PS2 to PS3 for a while at least, right now PS4 games are, I would say, one of the main things that's keeping the PS5 alive.
And I honestly feel like the only reason that PS4 games work on the PS5 is because the architecture is so close.
Yeah, well, it is.
It, yeah.
Yeah.
And they probably also knew, like, we're not going to have a ton of games for this right away because all of our big hitters are finishing up games right now.
But then at the same time, like, the reason why I say that is because the connectivity between the two ecosystems is terrible. So it's like trophies aren't syncing back and forth, and it's again it's two different directions because it's just like play Xbox or play PS3, hard line in the sand, PS4, blurry line in the sand, PS5.
And I bet if you go back 10 years somewhere on some other podcast, I'm sure that I said, look, I'm buying games on the PS3 digitally, but I am concerned about what happens somewhere down the line 10 years from now when suddenly they shut this whole thing down, and then what? Well, like if my hard drive crashes, then I'm fucked. I know they say you can download them again, but
eventually you're not going to be able to connect to that thing.
Josh,
exactly.
So the
I know the battery thing.
People found out the battery. So as long as PSN is up, you're fine, even if your battery dies. But once PSN dies, or they cut off PSN, your digital titles are only as good as the watch battery in your system.
And then how long is the PS3 PSN gonna really last?
I think they're gonna kill it before the 20th anniversary. I keep saying the 20th anniversary. They're not gonna hit the 20th anniversary and then kill PSN on PS3. They're gonna do it beforehand and then talk about the PS3 like some legacy thing.
Yeah. Let me ask Josh this question because I asked it to Michael and I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember what his answer is, but I'll be curious of what Josh's is. What do you think what do you think is going to be the first disc-based game that will not work post some kind of firmware update on a console? Does that question make sense?
Yes. And there was at least one game that I remember that when it launched,
a physical game, because Michael's actually had a game yanked from his library.
Oh yeah.
Like he owns it. He owns the game, and it's been, because I had this discussion the other day of like, oh, I like to own my games. I buy my games digitally. I own them. Like,
nope.
There was literally a game that when it came out, I may be wrong about this, but I have some vague memory. There was a game that when it came out on disc, you had to get the day one patch or the game would not work.
Right.
And I can't remember what game that was.
I'm just curious to win, and I'm removing like online component games from this. I can't what licensing thing will happen that you put Last of Us 1, and I'm just using it as a broad example.
And then
you put Last of Us 1 in there, and it just don't work. It just doesn't work.
See, I don't know that that'll happen because, if you think back, think back to where you get into licensing issues. If you think back to all the collections, like the Namco collections and the Taito collection, the Midway collection, and all those are things where you would think licensing is an issue. But I mean, once it's on disc, and they're not going to pull the license because you own the disc.
I'm just wondering, like, if I'm somebody that's continuously playing the most up-to-date free-to-play game, and I have to be connected to the internet and keep my console connected to the internet, and I go to play this game that, it's firmware 2024, and I put something in from 2016, and it just says cannot read disc.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Because you're up to date.
Yeah.
And like Sony had a falling out with Sony had a falling out with Activision, and they lost their licenses, and they're like, okay, well, from this day forward, our stuff doesn't work.
But I would be shocked. I can't imagine that happening.
Well, so I feel like when PS3 they released like PSN games on disc, that disc only was there to let you download the game. Some of them were like that,
but not all. Yeah.
But
There's
also,
a Ratchet
if you think,
and Clank one that was that.
Yeah, and I also so like the God of War collection on PS3. I believe that you downloaded the PSP remasters.
You did,
from that disc. So that compilation that's 5 games in one disc is really 3.
Josh's favorite example. I went to the store and I bought Telltale's Walking Dead and I opened it up and there's no disc but 5 codes.
And then there's
fucked up.
There's going to be instances like I think it was Elder Scrolls or Oblivion had a bug on PS3 that the save file would get too big.
Yeah, Skyrim did. Yeah, like once you got
So and they had to patch that out and they patched the shit out of that game. When PSN's down or done and they're not deploying patches anymore, you're going to have like the worst experience ever, though it's been re-released so many times it's not a problem. But there was a ton of games released broken that day one patches fixed that when PSN is down, that disc is worthless because you're going to have a shitty broken game without patches.
Yeah, and that was always a concern the moment all that patching came around. It was like good on one hand because you could fix all those broken games, but then it turned into, well, we need to ship the game in Q2, so it has to be out the door and patch it later.
Well, Nintendo was notorious for putting firmware updates in like the latest Mario and the latest Zelda, like back on the like the Wii days, like it was you put it in and it had to download something, and it's like what? And it was just kind of like the way that. I think they had, at one point in time said there was something wrong with a Zelda game, and they said, well, if you purchase you'll be able to get the patch this way, but if you purchase this game, it'll just work. And people are like, wait, what?
Well, what they were doing that, and actually Sony started doing that with the PSP, and it was to combat piracy,
right?
Because they're forcing a firmware update to get you off of that jailbroken.
Yeah, you want to play the coolest game. You got to get past this. You got to jump over this wall.
And then the pirates would have to find a way to hack that firmware version and then make it available again. And that happened. That was like every other week with the PSP.
Yeah, stability.
But yeah, it's like I think back to. I mean, and Burnout Paradise wasn't broken by any means, but if you
it's a completely different game.
It's a completely different, the whole front end, everything was completely different from day one to what it is now with all the patches and the updates and even the remaster. It's staggering.
Well, the
gameplay itself was the same.
The one that comes to mind the most for me that I remember you reviewing extensively, I think Little Big Planet 3?
Yeah, Little Big Planet 3 was a buggy mess.
But I still remember you reviewing it, and you actually had like the day one patch notes in your hands that you knew what was coming, and you're like, if these 9 things get fixed or whatever it was, like this game will be really good. Every issue I have is like one of these patches, and then but the same thing can be said like when you're looking. I still remember you talking to me about years ago, like when I first wrote my first review for The Division, like we were doing we were going back and forth on some grammatical stuff. It took me a little while to write the review, some stuff I was referencing, and then you were cross-referencing some stuff too, and you're like, well, Dave, the stuff you're complaining about, it's fixed. I'm like, yeah, Josh, it got fixed 2 weeks ago, but I played the game 6 weeks ago.
That was the problem. It took us so long to get that thing written and up that all that stuff got fixed.
And so Josh is like fact-checking me, and I'm
God
like,
damn it, they moved the goalposts again.
Yes, it's true, but it's still a problem.
Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. That was so funny.
You're like, you got to fix this. I'm like, no, this is what I played. I'm not changing it.
I will tell you though, I mean, all jokes aside, it is really upsetting. I would love for Jim Ryan to step down and for somebody who is actually somebody who actually cares about games.
Well, they let him go.
And not the bottom line.
They forced him out.
No, they didn't.
Layden?
No, Jim Ryan.
No, that's what I'm saying. They forced the guy that you want out. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. After I got a picture with him, they were like, "Okay, that's it. You got to get out of here."
Wait, so you have a problem with Jim Ryan, who famously told Time Magazine that this is the quote that I found, which is my favorite Jim Ryan quote. So he was at Time talking about backwards compatibility. So he said, when we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say is one of those features that is much requested, but not actually much. That I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had the PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games, and the PS1 and PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anybody play this? Like, that's the guy who's making the decisions in terms of backwards compatibility. He was at a Gran Turismo, like, history event, and then he looked at the old ones and was like, ew. Like, that was his response.
That's my concern. This is a guy, wasn't he in marketing first?
I think with Sony proper, like, with, like, the TV division, like
so
that.
Not even PlayStation. Yeah. That's even worse. I mean,
I think, and then he came in to PlayStation and moved up.
Yeah, this is a guy who was not a video game guy to begin with. So unless I'm mistaken here, but he doesn't act like a video game guy who really cares about the games and who really
he's not the guy that's gonna wear a T-shirt on stage just to mess with people.
Oh no. Or
put a tattoo on his arm.
Yeah. He wouldn't even know what it is. They'd be like, "We need you to wear this." He's like, "What the fuck is this?"
Like, I feel like kind of like Jack Trenton was kind of like that perfect balance for a little while, like where he knew like the business part of what he needed to do to be successful in the business standpoint, but he also understood what the fans needed or wanted or desired. And like Layden like tipped it the other way. Like Layden just messed with fans just to mess with fans, but he loved them. But House balanced Layden off, and then they just gave, whether we believe it or don't believe it, they just gave full control to Sony Europe.
I don't know. I'm upset about it because this was something that I've been worried about since downloadable games, since PlayStation 3. I was nervous. I bought Blast Factor and I bought what were the two first games on there? It was
Everyday
Blast
Shooter?
Factor.
Everyday Shooter or no?
No, Everyday Shooter came later. Blast Factor and shit, I can't remember the other game. Cash Guns Chaos was very soon after that, and Qbert was one of the early ones.
Why do I feel like Calling All Cars was up there or no?
That was later.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm talking the first month. Blast Factor was one of the first games.
I probably couldn't drive a car then, Josh. So.
That was when the PS3 was a web store, you physically it would turn, you'd click on the PlayStation Store,
get the little
on
gray,
the PS3,
the little arrow on the screen,
and a browser would come up, and you'd click on the game, and you'd slowly, painfully click your way through the store and click the thing, and you'd have to wait for it to fully download, and you'd have to wait for it to fully install, and then you could get out of the store and do something else.
That was like the number one thing that Michael learned when he was going down his little PS3 mantra of he's like, okay, well, I downloaded the bubble on PS3, but I didn't install the game.
But that's, the magic that you could even do that later on. Yep. I mean, holy shit. You had to wait for every single you could do nothing else with the console when that was happening. Mm-hmm. But right from then, I was concerned. I was like, I don't want to buy these games because I'm going to lose them at some point. I know I'm going to lose them, and I'm just throwing that money out the window. But then they brought out like Joust and Rampage and Rampart and all these, and I was like, okay, buy. And I fell right into it. I figured, well, I'm going to play them as long as I can. But you can put a maximum of a 1.5 terabyte hard drive in a PS3. That's it.
Okay.
You can't put any external drives on a PS3, which pisses me off to this day. I have 3 working PS3s in the house, and if I used all of them to download A through F and then G through L and then whatever, I would not be able to download all the games I own on these 3 PS3s.
I don't know the answer to this, why I'm asking this, but can you take 3 1.5 terabyte hard drives and put them in PlayStation 3A and switch them out?
No.
It reformats every time.
Reformat,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The moment you move it to a new PS3,
yeah, because I know there's been tons of discussion about system backups,
Yeah, you can back up to an external, but you can't do anything with that except re-upload that external. Yeah. But it wipes the system and puts it back on.
So now think of the pain of this with the PlayStation Store as it is, and my PS3 store. I have 900 or 1,000.
Yeah, I made like 450 because of fucking Rock Band.
Yeah. But that's like, all the stuff that I bought, and then I got into PS Nation in the middle of PS3, so that ballooned.
Right.
And I mean, I have like around 1,000 titles digital on the PS3. So imagine I download as much as I can, back that up, delete everything, download the rest of it, back that up to another hard drive, delete it, download everything. This would take me months and months and months and months to do.
You don't have that now, or you
and
do?
I do, but I can't.
Do you think that we'll get into
I can't do that with my life.
Do you think that we'll get into a situation where you'll be able to access your download list on a PC and somehow take it from the PC to the PS3?
Fuck no.
You used to be able to do that.
No.
There was the Chrome extension that allowed you to do that, but that's dead now because it used the web store. So you can't do that.
They're not going to let you do that. They're not going to get it because piracy. But I'm counting on those pirates to come along.
PS3 backwards compatibility has gone a long way. Like they're getting better at it, but those those sites are getting shut down left and right.
And then
because at the same time,
and then just to be clear, Josh, you don't think that there's some, like Michael was talking about, some long-term plan where they're gonna say it like this year, like in December or even June, and say, hey, like, you know, we heard what you said, and you know, you can access your PSN account on your PS5 and play your games through emulation that you own.
Nope, not currently. Not with this current regime of president, and it comes from the top down, and there's no way he gives a shit.
Yeah, because Michael's been hung up on this image that Mark Cerny put up on the screen that had PS3 on it.
Yeah, that weird crooked image that said PS5, PS4, and then it just had
there's a PS3 tab in the PS5 library, Josh.
Which pisses me off so much. There's a PS3 tab in the PS4 library.
And your downloads, like if you go to your library tab on PS5 and then you can sort it, and you can actually, there's a tab for PS3.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Oh no, you know why? Because of PlayStation Now.
Yeah, but it's still fucking annoying because PS Now is its own app, you know. So it's just like you can't download those games, so there's no reason for that tab to be.
You can't download any You can't download any PS3 game on PS Now. It's all streamed.
No. Yeah, you can't.
It's all streamed.
Just PS4 games can download.
Yeah.
Oh, PS4.
So there's like somebody just did a breakdown of it. There's like 400 games on PS Now, and like 100 I don't know the exact numbers, but like 220 of them are downloadable, and the rest of them are streamable only, and it's all PS3. All PS3s are streamable only.
And that's the other thing. Like this wouldn't be so criminal.
Processor.
This wouldn't be so criminal if they had all of it available on PS Now.
That's what Michael wants. Like Michael goes, let me access PS Now, and I can pay for a subscription. Like that's fine, and I can access everything. But let me go into PS Now and say I'm signed in as the first MJC and play my digital games that I own.
Well, but PS Now it doesn't work like that anymore. PS Now is just Netflix essentially, for whatever they put up there. So it's not like you can play whatever game. It's not like you can only play your
that's what I'm saying.
Michael's saying without paying for a subscription, he goes into PS Now and accesses his personally owned library.
See,
or PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, that would get me more incentivized to try PS Now than the 7-day trial I burned 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's like you said, Josh. You're always in the ecosystem. You're always on the storefront. You're always signing into PS Now because you're playing your games, and you can see like, hey, it's on sale for this much, or hey, we saw that you download this and own this. Did you know you could play this on PS Now, and it only costs you this much money per month? You know. But
I have PS Now, and I have it for the next couple of years. There was some deal on it at some point, and I bought a couple of years of it because I was like, it's an easier way to play some of the games with the kids and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. I don't use it as much. I try to every now and then. And the funny thing is, what was the last game? The last game we tried to play, it was Lego Star Wars 3. And I was like, here's one, because this is Clone Wars, because Mason and I have been watching Clone Wars a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this would be really cool. Let's do this, because I've never really played it. I have the disc somewhere.
I heard it still plays like garbage.
Well, no, it just crashes and kicks you out to the main PS5 screen. I was like, well, what the fuck? So I couldn't even play it. But like the promise of PS Now, and this is why I'm saying it's criminal. Like the promise of PS Now was that, and I swear they showed this when they were first talking about, before it was called PS Now,
Gaikai.
when they got Gaikai,
Endless
and they
backwards
said,
compatibility.
we can do PS1, PS2,
Yep.
PS3. We can put it all up there. Well, put it all the fuck up there, you know? I mean, I know that it costs money to do that, and there's licensing issues and all that stuff, but this is why we need somebody at the top who cares.
Right,
about
but I
the
think
games.
somebody like you would look past some of the licensing issue if, okay, here's 10 games I want to play. 4 of them I can't because of licensing issue, but 6 of them I can't. Great.
But at least, there's no PS1 games.
Right.
There's no PS2 games.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of PS3 games.
And then again,
the whole library.
The counterpart is like now on your Xbox Series S or X, you can sign into the Xbox store and you can look for said game that came out 20 years ago and download it.
Yeah.
Like you can buy it and download it.
It's amazing.
Or you can go to the random trade store or flea market and buy a disc and put it in your system and it works if it's on the list.
But the thing that annoys me with PS Now is just like, why is only Resistance 1 on PS Now? Why isn't 2 or 3 on there? You own that franchise. Why aren't all the Ratchet and Clank games on? You own that franchise. Like, there's so many weird things, and I know they like to shuffle things in and out, but like, it's dumb. Like, I wanted to play, like, for some reason, I don't have my copy of Resistance 3, which means it's probably in my parents' house somewhere in a basement, but I wanted to replay Resistance 3, so I'm like, oh, let me go on PS Now, and it wasn't there, so I was just like, shit, well, there goes my chance to subscribe. I guess I gotta go eBay hunt and, or dig through boxes in my parents' house, because I want to read them, and I can't. I could, I guess, spend $60 on the download on PSN, but I would be a fucking crazy person to do that.
As soon as you do that, they're going to announce the remaster.
Frustrating. It's so frustrating. It bothers me a lot. It really does. Yeah. And I mean, I've got all my physical games, but at the same time, having them and having easy access to them are two different things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got big crates, like at least 15 or 20, probably more than that, large crates in the attic that are just filled with games from...
Yeah, it's like you have to go up to the attic
from Atari
to find. Yeah, you'd have to. Even if you just wanted to play a PS3 game that you owned, as an example, you'd have to go to your attic, find the crate that it's in, find the game in the crate, see if it actually if your disk drive is going to work versus like the ability to just play it and download it.
That's like I kept on some of my shelves here. I have a handful of PS1, PS2, PS3 games on the shelves, because these are the ones that I have a good feeling that, I would want to play this at some point. So these are the ones I'll keep out, Mm-hmm. And I was looking for MotorStorm. I was like, where the fuck is MotorStorm? I know I have it somewhere. And it was all the way upstairs in the bedroom, because I was like, I've got that disc-based PS3 up there. I'll bring these games up here. But I have them here. And I don't really have, I've got my PS2. I do have some things to play them on, but it just frustrates the fuck out of me that I can't put them in my PS5. I can't stream them on PS Now on my PS5. I can't, there's all these things that should be available, and Xbox is killing it with that. And it's beautiful. I love, I have I don't know what they're called, the XS, the big one. The refrigerator.
Series X.
Is that what that one is?
Yes.
Yes.
They're all, and even my son was like, why did they name, these are stupid names. I was like, there you go. Go talk to Microsoft. But I have that, and being able to put all those games on there and just have access to them at any point, anywhere, anytime.
You put a disc in the machine, it's 50. If you put a 360 disc in the machine, I feel like right now it's 50-50 if it's going to work or not. Instead of because it might not have the wrapper yet.
Work.
No, I know, but maybe it's 80-20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but if you even go on the old Xbox One, most of them work. There's very few that
if it works on the Xbox One, it'll work on the Series.
Yeah, and
it's something like 1,000 games are backwards compatible, and their library was like 2,000 games. So it's like
that's where I got the 50-50 thing from.
Yeah. And the best part is, like, when you put your disc in, it gives you the download from the store. So you get a downloaded version of the game and the disc is just there for authentication, but that means you don't have to worry about your disc spinning up or anything like that. You're getting the download, which means it's going to be speedier than anything.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing
My
for that. And no, go on.
I was gonna say my only issue with the Xbox right now is that, since I've been relegated to the basement and that
You're a
fancy
gremlin now,
refrigerator, that fancy refrigerator is up in the bedroom because that's where the only 4K TV is.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, I could do remote play on my iPad Pro, and I could connect the controller and do this with the PS5 and a PS4 and the Xbox, and this is amazing. And the first game I went to play on the Xbox was one of the older titles, and it didn't work. And I looked it up online, and it said, "Oh yeah, doing remote play, you can only play the newest titles. You can't play any of the backward compatible titles." And I was like,
Yeah,
fuck.
You should look and see if that game.
Some are starting to come on though.
But you should also look and
for
see if
Game
that game's
Pass.
on Game Pass. Because if it's on Game Pass, then you can play it via the cloud.
Yeah,
But you have an
yeah,
Apple product, so that probably won't help you very much right now.
Not yet.
It's been an issue.
Yeah.
But the fact that all of it's there,
Yeah.
and
If
I
push
have
if
every
push came to
Xbox
shove,
game
Josh
I
would just
want,
tell Mason, strap that Series X to your back and bring it downstairs, boy.
Yes.
Dude, it's at the
it's
point
crazy.
where so I'm doing like a special spoiler cast for like old PS3 era games with Chris Penwell of ActiveQuest, and we're doing Enslaved for this month. That'll drop
Oh
on
my
this
gosh.
week, later this month.
Well, that was a buggy game.
And I have it on
cool.
PS3, and I was like, shit, do I really want to play it on PS3? No, fuck that. Let me download backwards compatible. It's $12.99 on the Xbox Series X, and I'm gonna get the best version of that game now.
Yeah.
And I have the option, because I want to revisit that. And I remember that game being, like most PS3 games, buggy as shit, except if you had a 360, it was a little bit better. So I'm just like, okay, I have the option. And now, I want to do a different game every month. So I'm looking at that era, and I'm just like, well, is it backwards compatible on Xbox? Because I'll just buy the download copy, and most of them are actually on sale all the time. Because they want you to buy their backwards compatible stuff because they put so much fucking effort in it.
Yeah.
They want to that's why most backwards compatible games you could just download. I downloaded Left 4 Dead 2, though that was a little weird. So it's backwards compatible. It's not available in the store on the console, but if you go to the 360 marketplace on PC and you're signed into the Xbox Live account, you can buy it there and then download it to your Xbox Series X.
Oh, that's crazy.
But at least that's an option for me where it's like I could do that.
Yeah.
There's just options there. We'll move on to the next story though. Speaking of Game Pass and all that shit, which people love from us.
Wait, one second.
Go for it.
Before, because we'll probably all get shit for this. I understand there's challenges that PlayStation faces versus Xbox, because Xbox was basically the same PC architecture from the first to the last, and PS3 threw everything off. And actually PS1 and 2 were different architectures, and then when you got to PS4 at 5, they're the same. I get it, but you need somebody at the top who understands the history of gaming and the need to curate that history and keep that history and do something about it instead of abandoning
money on OnLive and Gaikai for if you're not going to use it correctly?
Yeah. You know what? Can we just get rid of that guy and I take over? I'll take care of all this shit. I'll get it all done.
Your hair's too long.
The crazy thing is so I have this little guy here. This is just a shitty little touchscreen thing. It's a Raspberry Pi.
Yep.
This runs PS1 and PS2 games really fucking well.
Yeah.
You're telling me the PS5 can't run a software emulator for the PS1, PS2? Yeah. I know PS3 is a challenge, but
no, yeah. To Josh's point, nobody sat at the board meeting and pounded the table and said, "Make it work."
Yeah, that's the big problem.
Give some interns a month. Give some interns a month, and they'll knock it out.
Get me there, and I'll make it happen. Come on, Twitter. Make a trend.
All right. So next news story: MLB The Show 21 will be day one on Game Pass.
Brilliant.
So Xbox announced a partnership with the MLB that will bring MLB The Show 21 to Xbox Game Pass on day one. This brings all Xbox versions to Xbox Xbox Game Pass. Xbox One, Series X, S, and the cloud will use smart delivery to make sure you download or play the best version. Huge caveat right here. Major League Baseball is the publisher for MLB The Show on Xbox.
Yes.
So for those wondering, the show isn't coming to Plus or PS Now as of the recording of this show. And then MLB The Show on PlayStation does not have a free upgrade. The only way outside of that is to buy the Jackie Robinson edition, which is $85, while the Game Pass version will be effectively be smart delivery through, or though standalone copies of Xbox do not do smart delivery.
Yeah. So sorry, that was my broken sentences. I don't usually expect Dave to read those, but so someone pointed out.
I just want to make sure I didn't say anything wrong in this point.
Yeah, yeah. So you have an Xbox, you download MLB The Show, you will get whichever one your system can run. You know, you'll get the Series X version, you'll get the Series S version, you'll get the Xbox version.
Your series.
Yes, the best one, you'll get that. There's no equivalent for that on PlayStation. It's like you either spend $70 for the PS5 one, you spend $60 for the PS4 one, or you buy the Jackie Robinson one, and then you get both copies of that. And I feel like that is a crazy, like, little asterisk to put on this, to where, like, it's a really good deal. And, like, we talk about Game Pass probably too much, but it's a good service. But it's one of those things where I know how this deal probably went down. MLB probably called Jim Ryan enthusiastically, like, holy shit, Microsoft's going to offer us this many millions of dollars to put MLB on Game Pass?
I disagree. I don't think that's how it went down at all.
I totally imagine them telling that to Jim Ryan, and then him being like, oh, that's going to make us look bad, don't do the deal. And MLB's like, nah, son.
Yeah.
We just had to deal with COVID. We're taking this money, and we're going to cut you part of the check. And you're going to like it.
What I think happened is that Major League Baseball, and this part we know it to be fact. Major League Baseball forced Sony to take MLB The Show and go multi-platform, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So when Sony, which I'm sure reluctantly signed that deal, but had to because they wanted to continue to make MLB The Show, said fine, like, they signed the publishing rights over to Major League Baseball, and at that point in time, Major League Baseball, I believe, cut Sony a check for X amount of dollars, and meant that there's two scenarios here. It meant that here's the check, and we have the rights to MLB The Show on any platform other than PlayStation, and here's the check, however much that was or wasn't, I don't know. Or here's a check for less than my first scenario, and you get a certain percentage of sales revenue.
I think no
I'm
matter
sure
what,
they
they'll
get
get
sales
percentage.
revenue.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they'll always get that.
And Game Pass contract is sales revenue.
Yeah.
So
it is.
So go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can finish.
So I started looking this up the other day because, again, I was having this conversation with Angela, and I was actually kind of surprised by this. But what do you think is a good, and Josh and Michael both, what do you think is a successful sales number for MLB The Show 18?
About 1 million.
Michael?
3 to 5.
Yeah, 1.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So over the last couple of years, I don't think it's broken 2 million units.
Yeah.
So
that sounds about right.
It's
like hockey. Hockey's about 1 million every year.
I honestly don't think that Microsoft had to give MLB that much money. I'd probably say maybe $1 million.
Probably more than that. But yeah, it's probably not a crazy high number, but I guarantee when Xbox approached them for that, they just were like, hell yeah, we'll take any money we can get right now because of all the shit that they've had to go through the last year, like most major sports outlets.
It's guaranteed cash. Like, so MLB decides that, or, makes the choice to publish the thing, to publish on Xbox. And like, I don't know, like, so if it's 2 million at the high point on PlayStation, you start cutting that number in half, and down to at least, like, maybe a successful thing on Xbox would be 1 million. Realistically, it's probably 800,000. Then you cut it in half again for people that are only gonna buy your game, or then the possibility of Game Pass. So really, all Microsoft had to go to MLB and say, hey, like, we'll guarantee you 500,000 copy sales. We'll match whatever you would make off 500,000. And
MLB would just
said,
take
yes,
whatever.
please. Yeah, like, because
they're like, that number didn't exist before.
Right.
Because it's the first time
And
it's
then
multi-platform.
and from Xbox's standpoint, I heard this on somebody things when I was watching some stuff, is like, okay, now you have a brand new franchise, a brand new game on your platform, and the first time you give it to your consumer, it's free. So then you grab them, and now like, oh, I'm my Road to the Show guy, like I'm gonna play it on I'm gonna play 22 on PS5. Well, you can't transfer them over because you played on an Xbox.
You into that ecosystem.
So now you just
Well, that's kind of what I was going to get into, is that, whether PlayStation is pissed about this or not, and I know it looks bad, like the optics are kind of bad.
They're really bad.
But for PlayStation, this is a win overall.
Microtransactions up the ass.
Oh,
it's a huge win overall.
So, okay,
it's a
Josh,
private win.
you know how to, it's a private win, but publicly and optically it looks awful. So you might be able to understand this a little bit more than I would. So I know right now, if I play Diamond Dynasty and I buy stubs, if you go to click on buy stubs, it takes you to the PSN store, correct?
Well, yeah, currently, yeah.
Okay.
And it would take you to Xbox.
Yeah, it takes you to
so
Xbox.
then Xbox
it would take you to the Xbox
so
store,
you to buy Xbox points or whatever it's called, Xbox Gold.
No, you'd be buying, well, you'd pay cash just like you do. That's what you do now.
Yeah, it's a credit card, but Xbox gets their cut.
Right. So does then is that then cut again for Sony? Or does Sony get all of the microtransaction revenue?
Oh no, yeah, Sony's getting the
No, that's
all of it.
They get the standard 30%. No. Xbox takes 30%, and then that 70% is whatever deal MLB has with Sony.
So I spend $10. Xbox gets $3. MLB gets the $7, and then whatever deal MLB struck with Sony for revenue gets split to Sony.
Yes.
Okay.
That would most likely be how it would go down.
Versus zero that Sony was getting before. That PlayStation was getting before. Now, that's the thing. Like, this is great for PlayStation because I mean, and I know the consumers can be pissed, but it's great for PlayStation because you've got the people that just have an Xbox that haven't had a real baseball game in years. They're excited for it. You've got all the other people who are like, it's on Game Pass, I'll try it out. And then they get into it.
Yeah, and you hook them.
And next year, when it's not on Game Pass, it's going to be sales for Sony or for PlayStation. I keep saying Sony, but I know they're just PlayStation. So it's going to be sales for PlayStation up the yin yang that they never had before. It's expanding the player base, and it's all those stubs like you were talking about, that it's all the microtransactions that come along with it. In the long run, this is a great thing for PlayStation. Yeah, it looks bad, and it's a PR coup for Microsoft at this point, because they can say, "Ha
well,
what?
This is what
free."
This is what everybody thought they were going to do with Bethesda. They thought okay, we own Bethesda, and you can spend $70 on our newest game and play it on PlayStation, or you can play it through Game Pass, your choice. And it's a win-win for Microsoft. But then, to quote, stuff that's been Microsoft did this to one of Sony's exclusive brands.
That trailer is wild on the Xbox page, because it's like Xbox logo on your YouTube channel. It's like Xbox logo, PlayStation Studios logo, and then it's MLB The Show.
Well, it's just crazy to think the world. I tweeted this 3 or 4 times, like, crazy gaming world we live in. You're gonna boot up your Xbox Series, you're gonna load into your Game Pass stuff, you're gonna load up MLB The Show, and the first thing you're gonna see is PlayStation Studios.
That cool new PlayStation Studios logo, where it says like Nathan Drake, Alloy. And
so I guess the number one question I have is that, knowing that MLB is the publisher for this, did Sony know that this was happening before it was announced?
I'm sure they did. Yeah, I'm sure they knew before it was announced that it was happening. I don't think this caught them off.
But at the same time, Josh, this is the studio that shut down its Vita production and didn't tell its developers.
They don't care about external.
They don't care about the consumer.
I really think that MLB
care about.
I just think that Sony told them, like, Sony. I don't think Sony wanted to go multi-platform with it. Ultimately, I think that they had to, and they're like, fine, like, sure, it's potential for more money here. MLB, just take it and go, and then they moved on from it.
I can the scenario, I think, is just MLB maybe gives them, once the deal was signed, like, hey, we're going to be on Game Pass, announcement goes next week, and then PlayStation's like, fuck, okay, 2 days later announce Avengers and Borderlands 3 is coming to PS Now. That's like
See,
they scrambled and ignored what's happening. Because again, I know Sony wins and it's either way, PlayStation wins, but it's still there was a lot of confused and pissed off people for a couple days.
There's a lot of hardcore baseball MLB The Show fans that are upset that they were like, all right, fine, whatever. It can be on multiple platforms. That's fine. Great for the game to get more player base. I get it. It's part of the MLB contract. But now it's on Game Pass? That's some bull.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they're going to have to deal with that.
So, okay, don't buy it. And you're only hurting yourself.
Right.
I mean, then you don't get to play.
And even from my end, like my son owns his own PS5, like my account's on it. Like he's going to buy MLB The Show on PlayStation. Like he's going to. I'll probably mess around with it on Xbox, but to be honest with you, like if I transfer any of my guys over, it's going to be on the PlayStation side. Like I'm invested in the game through the PlayStation side. There's a lot of people that are going to be like that. But like Josh said, all of a sudden, some 12, 15, 18, 20-year-old kid that has Xbox and has Game Pass, like, oh, like as soon as you log into your Game Pass screen, like, oh, just released today, MLB, like, oh, cool, I'll check it out. Hey, this creative player is kind of fun. This Road to the Show is cool. Next thing you know, you're 8 hours into, and you're invested in the thing and you're playing it, and then, hey, this is really good, this works, let me check out some of this other stuff, whether you play Diamond Dynasty or don't play Diamond Dynasty. Oh, I'm having a really good time playing this. 2 months later, you set it down. Oh, MLB 22 is coming out. Cool, I really like 21. It was a lot of fun. Oh, I guess I gotta buy it.
But that's the other thing is these things on Game Pass, if they're not first party stuff, they don't stay on there forever.
Right. But typically it's 9 to 12 months.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that they would go 12 months with this. I could see them going
6 to 8.
6 to 8. Yeah. I could see them like say
through the baseball season.
But what if they kill it right before the end of the baseball season? Then everybody's like, shit, now I got to buy it.
Well, here's the thing.
Kill it before the playoffs.
Yeah, before the playoffs. Yeah, now I got to buy it.
So here's the thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize. Game Pass subscribers, if the game is currently on Game Pass and it's leaving Game Pass, you automatically get 20% off the current price. Yeah. And to Josh's point, like, yes, like they probably could, should, and would pull this at a certain point in time. Yeah. But at that point in time, I feel like this game would be $39 or $29.
Yeah, most likely.
You get another
10%.
And then you get another 10 or 20% off, and then you own it.
But that's more revenue to PlayStation.
Or you just feel like you're, like, hey, I got my 6 months out of it. I had a lot of fun with it. I looked into it. I can transfer my Road to the Show guy next year. Maybe I'll just buy it next year or see if it comes to Game Pass next year. Which I don't think it would come to Game Pass next year, but I don't
think it will either.
I'm just thinking from the concept of how the player thinks. If they take it away after 6 months, cool, I had fun with it. If I see it on sale, I'll buy it.
Yeah, I honestly, I think this was a one-time thing, and it was a coup, and it was a little, rub their noses in it kind of thing. Like, hey, we can do this. Let's do this, because it's a big deal that baseball is back on the Xbox for sports fans anyway. I'm excited because when I heard it was coming to the Xbox, I was like, well, I kind of want to be able to play it on the Xbox, but I don't want to buy this thing twice. And then when I saw that, I was like, sweet. This is perfect.
I'll do one pitcher season on Road to the Show like I do every year and then stop playing it. And I wouldn't have to spend $70 for that experience. There's two people I feel bad for in this scenario. One, the new Xbox players that are going to try and play online. And then find out the online experience is bad. And then I also feel bad for Nintendo, who last year got retweeted with excitement. Oh, MLB is going to go multi-platform, and there has been no word on them getting MLB The Show or anything.
That might come in a year or two. I think it was too much. Yeah, well, I think it was just too much. If it comes to the Switch at all, and I think it should, and it would be freaking fantastic if it did. The one on the Vita was good, but it was never great. Having the development studio there, they work year round. They don't really take a break. They take like a week or two, and then they're back working on next year's.
Yeah, or roster updates and patches and, tweaking some things. Yeah.
Most of them are working on next year's, and the other ones are doing the roster updates and patches. Yeah, because I talked to Ramon Russell about this years ago. Yeah. That it's a 12-month cycle for them. There is no downtime. There's like a week or so after they ship that they get off, and then the rest of the time they're working. And they have their 10-year roadmap for next year. We're going to add this. Next year we're going to add this. Next year they've been working on that for ever since this started. So the fact that now suddenly they had to do multi-platform, it was a big enough deal just to get it up and running and working on the Xbox. I thought it's too much to do that. The PlayStation 4 and 5 and the Xbox and the Switch. Next year we might see the Switch.
Well, it sounds like some of the stuff I was reading though is that MLB had, and I could be wrong, but I feel like I was reading something. MLB had to hire a company to port it.
It probably makes sense to like help out externally with some of that stuff.
So they're they're porting it. Like it's still
put some money into it.
Yeah, it's being ported to it's being ported to the Xbox. Like I don't really think that I have a feeling that Sony San Diego wasn't developing an Xbox version of the game.
But you still need like part of the team to like handshake with like the people porting it, and you probably pull some people off to be like, okay, here's how our engine works and all that, and then to get that going. Then who knows? That could be that secret Sony studio that like no one knows what the fuck they're working on.
It'll be really fascinating. Like this is like I'm not a huge Digital Foundry guy, but like I kind of want to see what Digital Foundry does with this now in terms of the PS5 version and the Xbox Series X version, because it'll be fascinating to see if there's a performance issue. Because God forbid, like if there's a port problem, like when you like years ago with like the Batman, like the Batman game like coming to PC was like a terrible port. To where they actually like had to give refunds and stuff like that. So like this will be really interesting to see like performance wise, like how it works. Because like Michael, you're kidding and you're serious at the same time. But how ridiculous would it be is if MLB The Show's online component is better on Xbox than it is on PlayStation?
Which is totally a possibility, to be completely fair.
Like I don't want that to be the case, but if it means like, hey, I can play it, I can play with my buddy Johnny, and I can play on PS5 and it might crash every 3 or 4 games, or I can play on the Xbox Series S with him and I can play, he can play on his one, I can play on my series, and it's seamless.
Yeah. For all we know, there's like an engineer at the San Diego studio that was working on the port and was working with the Xbox Live team and was like, wait, this has been the problem all along. Though I have a feeling that cross-platform play is going to break everything for them. So I have a feeling the online is going to probably get worse because they're doing the weird cross-platform where you can cross-platform PS4 to PS5 and PS5 to Xbox Series X and S, but you can't cross-platform from PS5 to Xbox One. Like those weird little like cross-gen things.
But now, so wait a second.
To make the online broken.
And I don't know if they've even said this yet, but you know how you can save, especially Road to the Show, you can save that to the cloud. So if I'm on the PS5 and I save that to the cloud, can I go on the Xbox?
I don't
know
because it's always like that cloud save has always been like PSN side. You know, it always brought up that screen.
Damn.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? It brought up that PS4 screen. FAQ. Yeah. Because like when they put out the FAQ and they first announced it, Josh. So here Michael will tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. PS5 can play with Xbox Series.
Yes.
Xbox One can play with Xbox Series. PS4 can play with PS5. PS5 cannot play with Xbox One.
Right. Yeah. That's what I said.
PS4 cannot play with Series.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it's a weird cross-platform thing, which I think is just going to break everything. But no, there is no cross-save in terms of going platform to platform. And I think that's just because
that's a shame.
You have two ecosystems.
But that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, though. Like like you said, the first person that's playing the game on Game Pass, they play Road to the Show, they make their guy. It comes off Game Pass, they're like, whatever. And then it comes out, 22 comes out, they're like, hey, I really enjoyed 21. And then you see the commercial that says, bring your player from 21, and you're like, oh, I had a guy, that's right. And now you're buying it on Xbox because that's where your player is. At the same time of like most people like you or myself might stay on the PlayStation side with their Road to the Show guy because they can continuously bring him, from year to year to year. Or, maybe you're like Michael's like, maybe I'll just use the Xbox as kind of like my experimental, like, let me just like be a catcher and decide if this sucks or not,
Which, while we're on that, bring your character year to year. Fuck you, EA, for still in 2021 not letting us do this on NHL. I'm still playing NHL 19 or 20 because I created a character, I created a player, a right winger, and I broke just about every record you can break in my first year with this winger. I've never had a play, I always do okay,
Yeah.
but I broke every friggin' record. I almost broke Gretzky's. I had 190 some points, or just over 200 points. I almost beat Gretzky's single season scoring record with this character in his rookie year. And I am not abandoning that to move to 21, because fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm
Which
playing
is
this
super
character
fascinating with the direction that EA has gone with some
forever.
of the cross play functionality and and like all the stuff they've been doing with like Apex and EA Sports is not talking to EA. I feel like
It's insane. That infuriates me to no end. And I'll be playing that version. It's 19 or 20. I forget which. It's the purple one with what's his face on the cover from the Maple Leafs. The kid from Arizona. I can't remember his name.
He's a Maple
now.
Leaf. I don't care. So.
He was the kid from Arizona who, everybody wanted him to go to the Coyotes, and he ended up in Toronto.
I vaguely know who you're talking about. I just don't know his name.
But yeah, my brain is broken right now. But that's the version I'm playing, and I don't know what happened, but
so your buddy in Twitch chat, Dave from Philly.
Yes.
He wants to know in NHL 19, is the Philly Stadium still there?
In NHL 19, no.
Spectrum, right? Oh.
And the funny thing is, I got drafted by the Devils, and I was like, "Ooh," but all right, I'm on the Devils, okay. Yeah, I rocked it through that first season. I was like, as it was going through the season, I was like, all right, maybe I'll get the Hart Trophy. Maybe I'll get, I'm sure I'm going to get Rookie of the Year. I'll probably get, I had like 2 or 3. I ended up with like 7 or 8. It was ridiculous. I was like, this is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a created player like that, and I am not giving this player up for anything at this point. It's ridiculous.
All right.
So,
Just never lose hope.
let's
never let that disc go.
All right.
No.
That's it for news, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should move on.
Except Dave, do you want to introduce the newest?
Our newest segment, Josh. You'll get a kick out of this one. So,
That's
what's
a good
been
one.
delayed?
Okay, so
I thought this is a good idea, because
we've had a delay. I would say at least every other week that we record. So
and most of them at Warner Brothers. The latest Warner Brothers game to be delayed is Lego Star Wars: the Skywalker Saga. So this was delayed, and the scary part is they didn't give a new window. Like this is like the second or third. I think this is like the second delay this game's got. I think it was originally supposed to come out. Dave, you saw this at E3 2019, I think.
yes.
No,
I didn't play it. It was hands off, but
Okay, yeah,
it
but
was
you
hands
went
off
to see it,
and I saw it, and I had an interview, and it looked, it wasn't playable, so I knew it was a little ways out, but it looked pretty done.
So this was delayed to the point to where they just said, like, when it's done, it's done. So they don't want to go and give a window that they might miss again. This is like how many Warner Brothers games have now been delayed? Gotham Knights,
Harry Potter,
Back 4 Blood, Harry Potter, and now this. So it's like Warner Brothers is just having issues, I guess.
Maybe they should have let Microsoft buy them.
Yeah. Maybe all their servers are running off the AT&T network, and they just can't
The
get
Time Warner
shit going.
network.
Yeah.
So clearly,
this is
they're having issues.
delayed indefinitely, as far as we know, which is kind of scary. But I'm sure this will come out. But who knows?
This I would have no concerns about. This is coming out definitely, but it's a huge ask to put together.
It's a lot of Lego.
It's 9 movies, and they're not just taking, because they had the original 6.
They're redoing those as well.
But they're not just taking what was there; they're remaking from scratch everything, and expanding, and it's not going to be the same levels, and so they're making a full game across 9 movies, and this is the definitive game, so they're throwing everything into it. I can imagine how big this game is going to be. It's going to take them time. And, we got 52 other Lego games from the PS4 that we can play until then. It's not a big deal.
Well, so this is gonna be the new feature. What's delayed? We'll see what happens next week. I think Warner Brothers is officially tapped out in games that they can delay right now. So someone else will take the mantle next week, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. So what we're planning on watching, I'll go first. Mine's super short because I had zero motivation and energy the last 3 or 4 days. I think I tweeted something out today that says I've played 3 hours of video games in the last 6 days. Tremendously low for me. The little bit that I did play was some more It Takes Two with Angela. And part of the reason I stopped playing that night too is my Wi-Fi has just been garbage. I've been trying to stream it on Share and it's been really bad. So the camera control for Angela is just a challenge. Using the right stick and to control the camera while controlling the character with the left stick, she just has a hard time with, to the point of during one of the boss fights that I would do part 1 with my character and while she's dodging the guy, and then I would take her controller and give her mine, and I would do part 2 for her while she's dodging with my character, and we'd keep switching back and forth because she just couldn't get the camera in the right spot. She was trying, and she was trying, and I'll give her credit. She just had a hard time with that boss fight because knowing exactly where the boss was. This was the first mobile boss that she really had to fight, so knowing where he was at all times was just a challenge for her. But then, going through the next set of stuff, some of the, you're inside of a vacuum cleaner, just the aesthetics of what they're building and the world building that they did in there is super cool. And we were doing a bunch of stuff with us against the squirrels versus the wasps, and we were fighting the wasps, helping the squirrels do something. And there's acorn farming and experiments on acorns. It's like I said, it's got some close Honey I Shrunk the Kid style vibes to it, where everything's so big. But the dynamic between the characters so far is good. We haven't gotten to the story, what I feel the story gotcha part is. But talking to a couple of my friends that have played it a little bit too, they're it's coming. So we're pretty close. But with Angela, it can only be about 2 hours, 2.5 hours before she gets hand fatigue. And then we watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We watched Mighty Ducks, Game Changers. And then on Easter, we went to church and got some food, takeout, and then was home. And I just couldn't really get motivated to do anything. And we ended up watching, it's on Disney Plus. We watched Secrets of the Sulphur Springs.
I have no idea what that is.
So she knows a little bit more about it than I do. But essentially, this family moves to to own this hotel in Louisiana that's been allegedly has been haunted. And then you find out that there is the kids that lives there finds that there's a portal that takes them back in time 30 years. When the hotel was working, and when the girl there was this girl that disappeared from the camp that was at the hotel, and it's kind of playing off this. I guess I've never seen the show, but it sounds like it's playing off the Stranger Things vibe a little bit. But it turns out that the kid's dad that moved and bought the hotel was at the camp when the girl disappeared and was actually friends with the girl. So he's time traveling essentially, and he's interacting with his dad as a kid.
That's cool.
And so it's on Disney Plus. The episodes are 20, 25 minutes. I kind of got, I guess I almost feel like I got Goosebumps TV show vibe from it a little bit, where they were trying to do some interesting stuff, but at the same time, it's still a Disney show. But the first 1 or 2 episodes, I was like, oh, this is kind of dumb. And then one little thing happens, and I'm like, all right, now I want to know what happens next. And then another thing happens, and I'm like, all right. And then my wife's like, I got to do this. I'm like, well, we're only 3 episodes away now. That's only another hour. And then I found out it's not we watched 8 episodes. And then the 9th one comes out next week. I'm like, it's not even done. It's so there was definitely a little bit. Yeah, I guess there was 10 episodes. So we watched 9. So it was just I wanted to play video games. I haven't started Outriders yet. I desperately want to start Outriders, but I just didn't have any. I just felt very meh all weekend, very blah. and I just couldn't motivate myself to play any video game. So
Yeah, I did play Outriders. I tried a couple times this weekend.
See, now I feel even worse. And I'm sorry, and I know what you're gonna say. Every time I would think about playing Outriders, I'd look on Twitter and somebody complained about the servers.
Yep. Even though I played solo and everything, it still has to connect to the internet. So it just was, you just couldn't do shit with the game. Like I had time Saturday, try to play it, couldn't do it. Sunday morning tried, couldn't do it. Today I finally got on, but I haven't gotten really that far into like where the demo probably left off. Like I just got my powers and I did a little bit past that. I just had like the reunion stuff that happens, I think, in the demo. I didn't play the demo, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, did you get to like the base?
Yeah.
You're kind of they're kind of at the end of there's a couple missions. Yeah. So, but every time I think about playing Outriders, I'd hear about the servers, and I'm like, I'll just wait. And I want to play it, but then that whole like the couple of my friends that have it, I'm like they're like level 10 or level 15, and I'm like, oh, jeez, like I don't think like if I sit down and dedicate myself and do it like I do all these other games, like I'll catch up to them. Like I know I'll catch up to them, but it's just kind of one of those things where it's a good and bad with what Outriders is trying to do, where I'm like, okay, like that's really interesting that you're doing like kind of a one and done, like campaign, very little bit of post campaign, everything is available to you at launch, and there's no seasonal or continuous content as planned it yet as of now. But then at the same time, I hear all these people like, oh, I'm farming this for craft building. I'm like, why? Because like to do the next level faster, like everybody kind of looks at me like I'm trying to get something to help me be more efficient, like they're not, the Outriders and Destiny aren't the same, but in Destiny, like I'm getting something that I might get something from Destiny that I might put away for 4 months, but that's because the Destiny's sandbox changes so much that in 4 months that might be the best gun in the game. That's not going to happen with Outriders. And
I'm treating Outriders with the expectation of like I'm playing this as a single player game that is like a B tier AA game. Yeah,
people are loving it though when it's working. They're having a great time. They're having fun. It had like 125 or 130 concurrent Steam players like on Saturday.
It actually beat Avengers.
Yeah, with the server issues and everything like that is fascinating in terms of a brand new IP. Server issues and that many concurrent players, like, so that really means that number on Steam without Game Pass is probably in the 250 to 300,000 for launch weekend for a brand new IP on Steam. Like that's really good.
Yeah. So like I feel like what happened is like during the demo, people thought this was going to be like a big AAA games as a service Destiny like feel, and it was confusion. And then this weekend, people discover like, oh no, this is just like a B tier game.
It's like a Diablo meets The Division.
Yeah, but they're not trying to tell like this epic story. Yeah. The writing is kind of corny and cheesy. It's a lot of
tongue in cheek. Get some cool stuff, shoot and burn some things, and watch a bunch of things melt. Really cool looking bosses, like really cool looking encounters. From the demo, it had a little bit of bland environments, but it seemed like a couple streams that I popped in, and like the environments are getting a little bit better as you progress farther.
It seems like people just reset their expectations from like what the demo showed, and people just are accepting this game for what it is, and it's a pretty decent game. I'll probably continue it. I'm going to continue to just do solo. My schedule is so fucked up. I hate trying to coordinate with people to like, you're too far ahead of me, or I'm too far behind. So I'm just gonna single player.
Oh, don't worry. I'll know how the co-op scaling works pretty soon, because my high level friends are helping me whether they want to or not.
I just don't care about that stuff. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna play it. It seems fine enough. I like this type of game in terms of like story not being taken super serious. Like
here's a cool new shiny thing that I'll shoot for 20 minutes until I get another cool new shiny thing.
Shooting feels good. I don't know why everyone explodes on the last shot, but it's a cool effect. It's kind of fucking stupid, but I kind of like it. So
this was another Game Pass game, Josh, that people were like,
oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, that came out
because I was gonna get it on. I think I already have it on Game Pass, but I haven't touched it.
Right.
So
I'd
heard about it.
I'm playing that. I'll probably continue it. I was a little annoyed though today when I actually did finally get it to load. It said like signed in ! Like, hey, you were successful in signing in, and then it sat at the screen for a minute, and I'm just like, did you crash? No, you're still you stopped spinning, but like clearly my system's working, and then finally let me in. So we'll see where the checkpointing is after, because I just like quit. There's no save, because like even when you pause the game, because it's like a live game, your character is still like you can hear stuff, you can still get attacked. So really hoping their save points are decent, because I'm like stopped right in front of like a battle.
Yeah, they're not bad.
So I'm
they're
hoping
not
I
bad.
don't have to.
You should be right.
I hope I don't have to backtrack too much.
A little bit from the
Yeah.
demo. You should be right there, or there's a fast travel point with the flags. So
Yeah. The other stuff I'm playing, just started Enslaved. I'm hoping to finish it within the next like 2 weeks. Dabbling in Tony Hawk on PS5 just so I can turn on my PS5 and say hi, how's it going? Because I never fucking turn that thing on. Sarah plays it more, like for Final Fantasy 14, which the PS5 beta starts next week, so she's gonna be on it even more. So at least someone's playing the PS5, because it ain't me until Returnal comes out. Like, I've already convinced myself. Dave from Philly, you're in the chat. I am buying Returnal day one just so I can have something to play on PS5. Because right now,
that was
I'm
like
Tony...
the conversation we had about Game Pass. Like, and I put something on the on the Facebook group about the Medium $40, MLB The Show $70, Outrider $60, Game Pass $180, and somebody's like, "Well, yeah, like even Dave from Philly's joking, you can't get Returnal." I go, "You know what? Yesterday I would have said you can't get MLB The Show either."
Yeah. So like. I'm gonna get Returnal day one just so I can have something, and also I want to support Housemarque because I don't want them to go away anytime soon. Especially right now, I'm also playing Super Stardust HD on the PS5 because through backwards compatibility on the PS4. So I'm playing that, just thinking of Housemarque, and then just it's funny though because I was beating some high scores with some friends, and I'm like, you know what? Because there's an option to like tell your best friend or tell your friend that you just beat their best score. And I click it, and then a PS5 error menu pops up being like, this is a PS4 feature. And I'm just like, son of a bitch. I know the PS5 has, like, in Astros, has the ability to tell people you beat their score. But you're telling me this PS4 game, I can't do that? Though it's built into this game? Like, it's fucking dumb. But that game looks pretty, because I had never...
PS5 can't communicate with PS4. Why would you expect that, Michael? Like, what kind of person are you?
It's a fucking PS4 game, and my friends, I can send them messages on PS4, but I have to go to like 3 menus deep just to get to that point. But like I said last week, it's the first time I'm playing Super Stardust Ultra on like a 4K TV with, you know, like the when the TV is like, we'll try and HDR this thing that isn't HDR. It's really gorgeous on my TV, so I've just been doing that. Might download Resogun because that's another game where things will blow up real nice and pretty. So I'm just like looking at old games that just look pretty that are small. Like I downloaded Flower, so I'm probably gonna play Flower on my TV. Though I might buy it on PC so I can get like 4K Flower. And
hey, it's nice to be able to download those things, isn't it?
Yeah, it's as long as you still can. Because that's basically like when I was going through my PS3 stuff to try and condense everything to my hard drive. I was like, okay, Flowers on PS4, Journey's on PS4, and I deleted those from my PS3 because why the fuck would I play like the inferior versions of that game?
Okay, Mr. Sony President.
Who would want to play a pixel game when you can play them with the rounded things?
I'm sorry,
you're part of the problem.
I have access to Flower on multiple platforms. I'm gonna play the best one. Like
you're part of the problem.
Damn it, Jim Ryan.
While Josh is pointing at Michael, why he's also pointing at his 2 next-gen consoles in his house that he's playing all the new stuff on, and not.
We were actually getting Jim Ryan to change his mind, and then I said that, and he was like, "Oh well, fuck it then." So it's not happening. Just like Dave, watching Winter Soldier still.
Yeah, I'm still iffy on Winter Soldier.
I'm picturing Jim Ryan sitting there listening and going, "Oh, okay."
Hey, you know what?
I knew it. Fuck that. No, we're not doing it.
If Jim Ryan listens to the show based on the numbers that I've seen, I'll take it.
Winter Soldier, I'm still kind of iffy on. Like, it's okay.
Dude.
The sexual tension's not ramped up enough for Bucky and Falcon for me. I still need that to fucking go to 11 to make the show worthwhile.
But you saw the last episode, right?
Yeah, it's good. I'm just not it's not the must-see show that.
Okay, I'm sorry for people who have not seen it. Turn off for a minute because spoiler.
Mr. Anti-Spoiler is going to spoil something within 5 days of it being out.
I know. I know how I am with it. So, if you haven't seen it yet, just give me a minute here. Okay, ready? Go. Madripoor.
Yeah.
You know that's mainly tied to the X-Men universe.
Yeah. I
You
know for the
how
comics.
big that is.
Yeah.
Just having that there.
They're doing all the Easter eggs and stuff like that. It's just like
Dude.
I don't know. There's some
All right, hang on.
disconnect
What
with
did
the show.
Madripoor? Like, what did I miss? Like,
So Madripoor, the place,
okay,
was created in the X-Men universe. They
Okay.
use it everywhere
yeah,
now,
okay.
but it started in the X-Men
Well,
universe.
they did a lot
So
of that
just,
with WandaVision too, with the kids.
but
The
just
twins,
having
so.
just the fact that it's there, and the fact that like even they went past Wolverine's bar, basically the one that he always, they walked right past it. So they're seeding all this stuff in, saying, yeah, we have X-Men, and you know what, you may be seeing them soon,
Right?
because they're dropping this in, like, this is all part of MCU now, and we're in Madripoor. That's huge. That's fucking huge.
It's huge. All that stuff is building this universe even more, and I love that. But there's, for whatever reason, there's just a little bit of disconnect with me with Winter Soldier. That, like, WandaVision, me and Sarah every day would be like, mute Twitter, no spoilers. When I get home from work, we're gonna watch WandaVision. We're gonna order pizza. Winter Soldier's like, Winter Soldier's is on, and we enjoy it while it's on. But it's just not like, I'm not looking up videos.
Last Friday
afterwards.
we watched the Mighty Ducks before Winter Soldier.
Wow.
That's
I mean, I'm loving Winter Soldier. I'm loving
No,
all
I'm
these.
not liking it. It's still must see TV on Fridays for me. WandaVision to Winter Soldier, and then Mighty Ducks in there as well. It's just that in the terms of, like, I'm not like Michael said with WandaVision, I'm like, okay, what's happening next? Like, what's the next thing that's going to happen? Like, as soon as we had the opportunity to watch it, I just don't have that exact same feeling right now yet with Winter Soldier. I'm watching it. I'm fascinated by the characters. I want to know what's going to happen, but I'm not like getting home, being like, we got to get home and I got to watch this before I like look at the wrong thing on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anytime Bucky and Falcon flirt, like, that grabs my attention right away. But like everything else, like when like Sharon, god damn it, I have fan fiction. But like when like Sharon Carter was there, I'm just like, okay, whatever. But we'll stop spoiling this.
Yeah.
For people, but it's just, it's okay. Watched the Mighty Ducks Game Changer. I like episode 1. I was like, oh, this might be good. And episode 2 was like, oh, we're gonna just drop just a little bit in terms of like story and quality. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. Fucking Game Changers just isn't doing it for me.
Like a Mighty Duck needs to show, or an old Mighty Duck needs to show up, and they need to figure out what they're doing with Bombay.
Yeah. Because at this point, I'm just getting annoyed with like Mighty Ducks, and I shouldn't be, because it's a fucking Mighty Ducks TV show. Like, there's no stakes in this. Why do I care? But here I am, fucking complaining about Mighty Ducks.
It's all the connected universe.
Josh, Josh, we did a whole Patreon episode on the Mighty Ducks solely.
So I want a little bit more from the show, and then I know there's only like 6 episodes at first, so I'm just like, just fucking get better. Just don't be stupid. Give me Adam Banks. God damn it! I need to know he made it to the NHL. I need to know.
Dave from Philly, I don't know what a PS5 is, but yeah, it's kind of cool. They're giving out Oddworld as a PS Plus game. Okay.
Yeah.
I might actually play an Oddworld game again, because I haven't played one in several years. I actually was looking at the Oddworld Soulstorm Collector's Edition, because it's really pretty, but then I don't know if I need an Abe statue, but I kind of want it. That's it for me. So Josh, what have you been playing? How's that Atari treating you?
The VCS, it's actually plugged in upstairs, so I haven't gotten to play it a whole lot. But I was playing the Antstream stuff on that when I did plug it in, which is pretty fun.
Okay.
Antstream is a streaming service based in the UK, unfortunately. So what they do is you're streaming, it's like PS Now for old arcade and computer games. But since it's based in Europe, it's all these weird European computer games, which most of it I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck this is. But then I'll find arcade games and things that I like they just added Marble Madness. But yeah, there's cool things on there, but I haven't really had a chance to touch that in months. So I've been playing the Switch a lot, because it's real easy to lay there in that bed and play the Switch. Before I figured out, oh wait, I have an iPad and I can connect either controller to it and I can play all this other stuff. I was playing a shitload of Minecraft on there.
Of course, as you would.
I have to make a video of this because I had one world that I was doing. The first world I did on
we
the
have
Switch.
a YouTube channel you can post it to.
Maybe I will.
You're living the full gremlin life right now. You're just like in your basement playing Minecraft. Just like
he sleeps in his basement.
Really nice.
He moves from his bed to his desk, and he plays Minecraft.
Yep, pretty much.
And he has super long hair now.
Yep.
Most of the time,
smoking the weed.
He's got a better beard than I do, but he's got way more gray in it. So
yeah. Well, all that gray happened when we got the house and spent 2 years renovating. Just me and father-in-law. That's when the gray came, literally.
That's why he's wearing a hat, folks. It's all gray up top too.
Actually, it's not. It's pretty fantastic. It's kind of blondish again, which is cool. I like that. So I have 3 different Minecraft saves. Because I did this one and it was really cool, and I got to this point where I was like, I want to try something different, so I just created a new one. And like 2 times there was a pink sheep and Mason freaked out. He's like, those are incredibly rare. I can't believe. And then pink sheep had a baby and had another pink sheep, and those are even more rare. It's like 0.2% chance or 0.002% chance that you'll get a pink baby sheep. So he freaked out. So I stopped the game right there. I'm like, I got to get this on video somehow, but it's on the Switch and this is a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to stop that and create a whole new game.
Got to turn that into an NFT, sell it for millions of dollars online.
Yeah. But each save I create, Mason's like, you're the luckiest Minecraft player ever, because I'm finding all these crazy things in my saves. And I'm like, it's because I explore. I don't just sit in one place, you know?
Right.
But there's cool stuff we did.
That digging in every corner finally paying off in a game where you can really dig.
Yeah. But the idea is now that all of the Minecrafts are connected and you can use realms, you can upload one of your saves to realms. And then I could go on.
Do you remember when he called me a nerd because I played Destiny and I'd say about Void Burn?
Did you not hear him say pink sheep, though?
Yeah. Did you not hear him say all Minecraft worlds are connected?
Yeah. No, I'm saying all of the across all platforms.
Saying Minecraft better than Destiny.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying he used to make fun of me for playing a game a certain way, and he's digging in the dirt and he's finding pink sheep.
I didn't find a pink sheep digging in the dirt.
Oh, did you like axe a rock?
It was there. No,
it was just there, man. Is the Switch one big? Like, because remember, like the Minecraft on like Vita and PS3 was really small compared to the other versions of. But that's what Minecraft.
I'm saying. Every single version of Minecraft is exactly the same now, and you can connect to any of them. Like they have this thing called Realms, and you pay like $5 a month for Realms, so you can play online with your friends.
So what did this company prints fucking money?
Yeah, that's seriously.
Microsoft owned, by the way, now.
But the cool thing is, you have to use a Microsoft account. That's the crazy thing. You use a Microsoft account on your Switch to sign in, so that you can do this. And same thing with your PlayStation. But then everything you bought on one is available on all of them. So I could take a save on the Switch, upload it to Realms, go over to my PlayStation, download it, and then do all the video, which is, I haven't gotten around to that. So I'm going to do that at some point. But, between that, I started playing Saints Row 4 on the Switch because I think enough time has passed and all the patches are done.
Every hour of Minecraft Josh has played, his hair has gotten longer.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, Saints Row 4, I love the shit out of that. I reviewed that a long time ago on the PS3, I think.
Yeah, it would be the PS3.
And it's so much fun. I started playing BioShock again on the Switch.
How did those
how's that run?
Yeah, how did
I was playing BioShock Infinite, and it was running great.
What about like Saints Row?
Saints Row was running great.
Okay.
Because it's been patched like a motherfucker.
Yeah, Saints Row
at this
needed
point.
patches. I just don't remember if BioShock needed patches.
Yeah, I never touched Saints Row. Like I got it and then I never touched it because I knew what was going on with it, and I just put it in to try it, and it's running fine so far.
Nice.
But yeah, like BioShock Infinite blew me away today. I was playing it today and I was like, I'm laying there. I'm like, oh, this is like all the experience I ever wanted on the Vita. This is amazing. It's like, this is just crazy. So I've been, bouncing around in a bunch of different games on the Switch.
That BioShock Vita game only has a couple months to come out now.
I know.
So how much gaming have you done? Like, would you consider like you've done on like next gen, like on PS5 or Series X? Like, what do you like? What's been your like wow, this is truly new.
Series X, I didn't buy anything. It was all Game Pass stuff.
Did you try like the medium yet?
I tried Minecraft because it has HDR.
Yeah, here it runs really good, like the 4K
and it
HDR
looks gorgeous.
Minecraft. Yeah.
No, I tried Call of the Sea, which was
I
download.
downloaded that but didn't try it.
I wasn't really getting into it.
I think you might like the medium.
I don't remember what that is.
You're a psych. You're like a medium. You're a medium. Like a
medium.
medium between like
Wait.
two realms. Like
Came out in January.
It's
Like
Bluebird Team.
Patricia Arquette.
Sure, that's probably reference
that
to like a CBS show.
Is that I don't even know. I remember seeing
my
her
reference
at the
would be
medium.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay.
Like Ghost Whisperer. It's like you
um,
jump between two realms, like the real world and then like the afterlife world. It's Bluebird Team, the Layers of Fear people, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So like on the Xbox, the only ones I really got to play, I was just basically digging around on the Game Pass stuff. So I was playing some Halo. Mason wanted to see that, and we started with the original Halo, the Master Chief, remastered, whatever it is they did. Which looked pretty good, and we were just messing with that for a while.
It's so
I played
cool.
a little bit of Halo 3.
You can click that button and go back and forth too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Not a whole lot though on the Xbox. I haven't had a whole lot of time. PlayStation, PS5, when we got it, played the crap out of Astro's Playroom, and really enjoyed that. We were playing the Little Big Planet, me, Mason, and Zoe together. We're playing the Little Big Planet
Sackboy Adventure or
Sackboy Adventure, whatever it is. And that was pretty cool. We were having actually a lot of fun with that. I'm trying to scroll back through here. I played Maquette because it was, one of those free games.
Yeah.
I claimed it. I didn't download it yet. So.
I got Madden and FIFA cheap on disc for PS4 because I knew that I could do the PS5 versions of them.
So you have obviously you have a disc drive PS5.
Of course, yeah. Okay. Why would I not?
Yeah.
Mason played the fuck out of Ace Combat 7 and played through the whole campaign.
That's cool.
And I got him the DLC the other day because it's half price right now for the season pass. And he's so wrapped up in that, it's ridiculous.
Just with the controller, or does he have a fight stick?
Just with the controller.
Okay.
And I told him you could do VR, and he's like, no. He plays behind the airplane. He doesn't want to. I'm like, get in the cockpit. He's like, I don't want to do that.
I want to keep my dinner.
Yeah, he tried it once. He tried it once in the cockpit just without VR, and he's like, I'd rather see my plane. And scrolling through this, I see it's NHL 20 and it's Austin Matthews. Now that I see his face, his name popped right into my head. So Zoe wanted me to play Bendy and the Ink Machine. My 5, now 6-year-old daughter wanted me to play Bendy and the Ink Machine. And I was like, yeah, I saw that at Comic-Con years ago. And I don't know. It is the shittiest game I've ever played.
It's weird because that game is like a marketing machine because you see Bendy t-shirts and stuff from time to time. And it's just it's got a cool art style, I guess, that carries it.
It's the type of game that frustrates the hell out of me because you walk around and there are doors. It basically it doesn't let you do things until it wants you to do things for the story. So you try to open the door and it won't open. And then you do some other stuff in this area, and then suddenly it's asking you to go somewhere. And I'm like, well, where the fuck? I've been everywhere in this area. And I walk back to that door and I'm like, oh, gee, now the door opens.
That sucks.
Or, little things like that, where there's like electric boxes on the wall and I'm trying to open them. They don't open. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. So then I get deeper into this level and I meet somebody and they tell me you have to go do something and it's not entirely clear. So I'm going all over the level. I'm looking all over the level. And I finally got so frustrated. I'm like, Zoe, I don't know what to do here. I was like, do you have any idea? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, this is stupid. I spent like a half hour walking all over this level and I have no idea what the fuck I'm supposed to do. And she got bored and left. And I hit pause on the game. And when I did that, a little hint came up and said, go and open the electric boxes. And I'm like, those fucking electric boxes that wouldn't open the first time I walked through the level? Fuck you. I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah. Did you
that
buy
type
it?
Of game.
Or was it available for Plus at one point?
I have no idea. I don't think I bought it. I don't know. But while Zoe was sitting here with me, I bought a ton of the Arcade Archives games because I started. Yeah. I've had a bunch of them anyway, like Scramble and stuff like that, and Crazy Climber, old arcade games that I love. But I dug into it and I found out that they had like Track and Field, which blew my mind. Kangaroo. I can't remember the other ones I bought. They're not listed here. But so many of them. Well, Frogger, Burger Time, Kangaroo. I was blown away. I was like, now I want all these on the Switch, and half of them aren't available on the Switch. So between that, MLB The Show, I've been playing a bit here and there. That's basically it. Like Mason played the crap out of Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I didn't get a whole lot of time to do that.
It's actually not very long.
Either of them.
So.
Yeah, I played a little bit. Oh no, the original Spider-Man is the one he played.
Yeah, the original one's long. Miles Morales is like not long at all, like 8 hours.
I wonder if he finished it. He kept showing me, look at the suit I unlocked. Look at this suit. Look at this. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I got to play this game.
Yeah.
I was like, I still have the one I bought from Michael.
Oh yeah.
I beat that game, Josh.
Yeah.
I beat both of them in like 10-day span.
Yeah, at some point I'll sit down and play that, but it's one of those things that I haven't had the time to play. Oh, and I realized what Xbox game it was that it wouldn't let me play remote. Untitled Goose Game. Like, what the fuck? That's so not weird. An old game.
No, not at all. And that game's not a complicated game either. So
no.
I don't know how, yeah. And the game is overrated though.
Well, that's the thing. I hadn't played it at all. And I was like, well, it's on Game Pass. Oh, I could just play that from here. And I downloaded it and I'm waiting. And I got it all downloaded and I hit play and it's like, can't play this. And I'm like, dick.
Yeah, it's still spotty. I always wonder about stuff like that, but they're at least actively working on fixing that stuff.
Yeah. But that's mainly what I've been playing. I've been watching everything everywhere. But the main things besides Falcon and Winter Soldier, have you guys watched not from what is it called? For All Mankind?
No.
Oh, if you don't have Apple TV, then probably
I have Apple TV.
I do not have Apple.
Okay. Oh. You should watch it, Dave.
I have Apple TV because my daughter bought like some $900 iPad for college.
Nice. So it's Ron Moore, the guy that did the updated Battlestar Galactica. Okay. And it is an alternate history of the space race. So it starts the very first scene, minor spoiler, but you have to understand this to understand.
I can't watch it. I'm up.
why you need to watch the show. The very first scene, all these people are sitting at a bar and they're watching the moon landing, and they're saying, the lander has reached the moon and blah, 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 blah. Oh, we have video coming. Video is coming in from the moon. And you see a weird lander and you see this guy get out and he starts speaking in Russian and you're like, holy shit. And it's the Russians got there 2 weeks before the U.S. before Apollo 11 was supposed to go, which almost actually happened in real life.
So this is like the story of like what would happen if Russia beat us to the moon?
Yes.
Okay. Because I've also heard that on Apple TV, like Ted Lasso is something I need to watch too.
I haven't watched that yet. Yeah. That looks like a comedy.
All right.
It is.
But, yeah.
College football coach that
becomes a soccer coach.
Soccer team in the UK.
Okay. Yeah.
People are saying it's really good though, even like people that aren't sports people. So.
But like one of the classes I had a couple classes on the space program in college. And I was always into all this stuff. And I had talked to Mason about this a couple of years ago, about this N1 rocket that the Russians had, that they made a last ditch effort to try to get this thing going to beat us to the moon. This actually happened. The thing had like 20 rocket boosters around the bottom of it, 20 engines on it or something like that. It was notoriously unstable, and it blew up on the pad and killed a shitload of people. And they hid the fact that had ever happened for decades. And the idea in the show that worked, they got to the moon before us, and now what happens? And suddenly it becomes not just we go to the moon a couple times and everybody gets bored and we're done. It's suddenly the Russians are on the moon and then we go to the moon. And then, well, shit, we found some water on the moon and we have to build a base. And then we have to build a base. And it just goes from there. And it's fascinating because when they get to season 2, they jump 10 years. So suddenly it's the early 80s. And everything is happening here. When the next one comes, they're going to jump another 10 years to the 90s. So they're doing this. They have this all mapped out for like 10 seasons or something ridiculous. And it's fascinating. It's really, really cool. Really, really good drama.
Nice.
And it's worth watching if anybody's remotely interested in that. Because it puts a different lens on things, and they tie into real stuff that did happen, but with a twist, because now we have this alternate history tied to it. So how does that change everything from there? But what else? I started watching what's the other one? The Raised by Wolves, which was Ridley Scott.
It's another Apple TV one.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah,
no,
it is.
I'm saying like
It
it's
is
like the Apple
actually,
TV
now that I
stuff.
think about
I'm
it.
like, I'm like completely like.
Yeah.
I'm an Android
I don't
user,
use
so,
my
yeah.
Apple TV enough as much as I probably should. I mean, like if there's 2 or 3 things on there, like I just don't look at it.
Yeah, that one's really cool. But we were watching The Family. We were watching Goldberg's every night when we were eating dinner. But we blew through everything. We're like completely caught up, and we're like, now what?
Yeah.
So then we started watching Fresh Off the Boat, and we're enjoying that a lot. Zoe still hasn't warmed up to that, but I remind her that she didn't warm up to the Goldbergs until like season 2. And then now she loves the Goldbergs.
Right.
She's like, big tasty. So yeah, I mean, I've watched shitloads and shitloads of stuff, and those are the highlights I would say recently. Oh, Godzilla versus Kong. Did you guys watch that?
No.
It's on my list to watch sometime this week.
It's got script problems.
I've seen some people either say it's great.
It's fun.
Like I've seen people say it's great, and then I see people say the fight between the 2 monsters is great, and that's about it.
Yeah,
That's all I expect.
Yeah.
There's fun stuff in it, and it has some of my favorite actors in it, but there were parts where I was like, oh, the writing in this is just awful.
All right, so I have a question for you, and then we're gonna do a couple community questions for you, and then we're gonna try to get out of here before this turns into like multiple episodes. Have you read or listened to Ready Player 2?
No.
Okay.
I know.
I was just curious. He's got nothing, but he's half immobilized.
I
Talk about the
forgot.
shitty franchise.
Honestly, I forgot that was out, and I remembered it at one point. I saw it and I was like, oh, I should pick that up. And then something happened and shiny object.
Okay,
And,
so
that was it.
all right. The other rebuttal I have to it, because I enjoyed the first book and I think the movie's okay. And I listened to the audiobook and I read the book. Because Michael is against it entirely. So can you explain? Because my wife thinks that Ernest Cline spends way too much time detailing stuff.
Okay.
She's like, she goes, I get bored and I don't want to read it or listen to it anymore because he goes,
Really?
yeah. So she's like, and I think he gets even a little deeper in Ready Player 2 to where I was actually almost kind of getting annoyed. Like he spends like multiple chapters on Prince.
My only concern, and without spoiling anything, my only concern, if you could tell me, is that I had heard that Ready Player 2 is almost basically a rehash of Ready Player 1. Like it's not a very unique or original story.
It's a continuation.
Hey, there's another Easter egg and let's keep going.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have the cool story plot twist that Ready Player 1 had to it. And okay. I do think he does lean on his fascinations with certain things like Prince a little bit too much as Michael gets a book out. We can talk about that later. So, okay. All right. So questions that people send in using hashtag #AskDigitalDays. They're mostly Josh driven. Michael doesn't even know what that book is. It's upside down.
No, it's not. It's just, there's a reflection. It's a Dragon Age book. It's a Dragon Age continuation.
Yeah. So Anthony writes, so Josh, what's the part of doing a weekly podcast that you miss the most and that you miss the least?
Actually, miss the most is just hanging out and just joking and laughing and having fun. I mean, that was the thing when we were the last couple of years, when the three of us were doing it, it was a joy. It was just so much fun and just laughing all the time. And I loved it. That's what it rejuvenated me, at a time when things were getting stagnant, and I miss that. I do.
There's a spot.
What do I miss the least? I would say I don't know, like with PS Nation in particular, it was that I was doing all the website stuff on the side, and I would literally spend 20, 30, sometimes 40 hours a week doing website stuff and review editing and video, or not video, like the graphics and all that stuff. I just put way too much time into that, and it was just killing me.
And then how to play games, how to do your job, how to be with your family, and then record a podcast.
Yeah, it was too much. It took way too much of my time. Without that, the way my job is now, and with the way I've prioritized the job and life, I don't have the time really to put into a podcast anymore. I wish I did. I had thought about it. I talked to Michael about this. I even had a domain and some other stuff. I was starting to put something together, and was just going to go off and do my own thing. And then I got my job and fell hard into that. And really, that's all I can do now. Between that and my family, it's so much that's all I can do.
We'll try. So, I mean, like, we've always had a goal. Like, I think every 3 months, like, we can try.
Yeah,
but then
absolutely.
It just all depends. Like I said, like with my work schedule this week, it actually worked out really well. Josh needs to record later at night. Michael and I prefer not to record later at night if we don't have to. And it just so also lines up that our days off line up really well during the week, so we can record.
Dave, we're off tomorrow, so we're good being up till midnight.
Yeah, I'm working tomorrow, but I'm closing.
Oh, you fucked.
Yeah. So, but it just means that some things can just like line up a little bit better for us, and then like the ability to live stream the show. Like, I actually. The amount of people we have watching at midnight on East Coast time is fascinating to me right now, and it must be because of you, because when we've done it this late before, it hasn't been this high as it is. But it's also just fitting into the dynamic of what adjusting to our audience, and it feels like the earlier recording has worked. But there's also been a definite uproar for to talk to you again, as we were talking to you in February, and then you decided to go ice skating.
Yeah.
So
He got really excited for the Mighty Ducks comeback, and he was.
So then Stefan writes, the legend, the myth, the phenom, Josh Langford. Can you ask him how the Phillies will do this year? Do you think they can get to the World Series? If not, who does he think will win the World Series?
They're 4-0 right now. That's what I know. They look really good at the moment. And it's funny, I didn't know this, but because of where I live, I get the Mets broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
So the Phillies were playing the Mets tonight, and the Mets broadcasters at the start of the game, they said, the Phillies, for all their problems last year, they in 48 of the 49 of the 60 games they played last year, they were leading going into like the 8th or 9th inning. And they lost all those games because their bullpen just was horrendous. Their bullpen looks good this year so far.
I'll say this: enjoy it while you can, because you have the general manager that will make a bunch of moves to make you relevant for 2 years and terrible for 12.
Probably.
So that's Dave Dombrowski. That's what he did to the Tigers. Yeah. That's what he did he did it to the Red Sox, and he's gonna do it to the Phillies. But if it gets you a ring, more power to you. So.
But you know what? It seems to be every 10 years now for the Phillies that they get good. So if it's every 10 years that they're getting good, I'm okay. I want to see Bryce Harper and Real Muto and Hoskins and all them. I want to see them.
I wanted to see it. I think the Los Angeles Angels got scared when Harper was hinting about bringing Trout home, and the Angels got scared, and they said they went to him like right now, and they probably gave him 10 or 20 million more than he probably. Trout's the best player in the league, but
he is,
and he probably got paid a little bit more, just like, please stay.
I really wish the Phillies could have gotten him. Oh my gosh.
But they're like, you know what? We're not even going to risk you being, like on the free agent market, because Bryce Harper and the Phillies, and they'll just do it. That'd be scary. So
getting to the World Series, I don't know. I don't know.
You got a tough division.
A whole lot of the NL. Well,
division.
With Atlanta.
I mean, as long as the Nationals don't play.
Well, no, but the Mets have the new owners just like make it rain, like whatever you want. He goes, oh,
they've only played one game so far because of COVID.
He goes,
stuff,
oh,
so
my general manager's a terrible human being. You're fired. And he just
I'll tell you though, I watched all 3 of those because I had nothing else to do. I'm laying around. I watched all 3 of those Atlanta games, and it was amazing to watch the starting pitchers pitch as well as they did, and then the relief pitchers come in and not blow it. I was like, oh my gosh!
The Phillies played the Braves to open the season.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they swept them.
Nice.
It was crazy. They held them to. They held like the top 3 hitters on the Braves to like a point. It was less than a 100 batting average for the top 3 hitters on the Braves. It was crazy. So I know it's early in the season, and I know the batters are going to catch up to the pitchers at some point, and then it's going to get ugly. But they're looking good right now. So I'm optimistic that they'll at least be in the race this time and have a good shot. So. I'll leave it there.
Our last question for you from Andis. Dream Team Assemble. What are the 3 of you looking forward to as hopefully the battle against COVID is being won? So I think he's asking, what are we looking forward to the most post-pandemic? I guess I'm assuming doing.
Yeah, traveling. I just want to go to Disney. I want to go to a video game event. I just want to get out of the city.
I want to go somewhere and not think about, is it open? Is there enough people there? Do I have to wait in line? Is there a restriction? We're gonna take Owen to the zoo this week, and it's not gonna it'll be the first time. I don't remember if he's been to the zoo or not, but this will be like the first time that he can go to the zoo and go, hey, that's as a 5-year-old, he'll know what things are, and he can communicate what he sees and what he likes and doesn't like, and it's just gonna be. It's gonna be interesting. It's outside, but we still gotta wear masks and do all that stuff, obviously. And I'm just more looking forward to getting back to whatever the normal routine is going to be and just going forward. That's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I owe the kids a lot of stuff. We had all these plans for 2020, obviously, like a lot of people did, but I had a lot of family stuff that went on over the past couple of years, and we had fully planned to be going to my brother's in Florida in summer of 2020, and we were going to take the kids to Disney and Lego and all these places, and they were going to see their cousins for the first time in their life. And obviously that didn't happen. And we were going to get a dog, and that didn't happen. Which I know pandemic happened and a lot of people got dogs. We didn't, because we had other priorities to deal with. I know a lot of people were out of work, so we were both working through the whole thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, Josh has been able to work through it, and I believe Josh's wife is in the medical field, so obviously it was definitely high stress, high strung for that. So
yeah, which I mean, it helped with the broken ankle because I went to Mount Sinai and got one of the best guys to fix my ankle.
There's always perks to it when you when you literally rip an extremity off, you know.
Yeah, it makes a difference, but at the same time, yeah, it's been a tough year, like for everybody. I mean, I know everybody's had a rough time of it. I want to get the kids to Florida. I want to get the kids back to, like we had talked about, we had gone to a Phillies game when they were really young. My daughter was maybe a year old,
I'm
2 years old.
I'm probably going to a baseball game next month. It's just, you know, like Comerica's like only letting like less than 10,000 people in. So
yeah, the one thing just for myself really, because I mean, my wife and I used to do it, but since we've had kids, she doesn't want to go out. And like, where are we gonna, you know, what are we gonna do with the kids if we both go to like live music?
I was gonna say
concert.
Riot Fest last year was canceled. And our tickets are good for this year's Riot Fest in September. If it happens. I think it will, because it sounds like Lollapalooza, which is in like July, is gonna happen. So Riot Fest in September might be okay. We already have tickets, so like I'm hoping they cut off their ticket sales, so then it's like 15% capacity, because like Riot Fest, the who they're having this year is going to be My Chemical Romance Reunion, Smashing Pumpkins, the Pixies, Coheed and Cambria, Lupe Fiasco, Beach Bunny.
Josh just changed his answer. He wants to go to that.
I'm like, yeah,
Living Color. There's so many bands that are going to be at this thing, and Sarah's a big My Chem fan, so she bought the 3-day passes because she didn't know what day My Chem is going to perform. So we're going to go to all 3 days, and because of COVID, they're adding an extra day only for people that bought tickets last year. So like, we don't know what bands are going to perform at that special day. So like, really excited to go to that. Have no idea if it's going to happen or what capacity is going to be. I'm hoping it happens and then they just fuck the capacity up, because usually Riot Fest is like 50,000 people a day. I don't see them allowing, even if things are good, 50,000 people. So I'm hoping they do it and I don't have to deal with so many damn people, because like when you like, Dave, I don't know if you've been to a festival. Josh, you've been to a couple like festivals.
many festivals.
You know, like
starting with Live Aid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think we talked about that. But was your Live Aid that good?
Actually, I had fun. It was worth it.
Okay. I band wise, because there was like killer bands at some Live Aids.
The better bands were in England. No, it was just England and Philly. This was when it started, and England had by far the better bands. But yeah. It was good though. It was worth it.
But as you know, like when there's a band you want to see at a main stage that's popular, you have to basically camp out, and you will miss other bands that are at other stages. And My Chem haven't performed in like 10 years, so we know we're gonna have to get there at 9 o'clock when the thing opens, and then we're gonna have to stand in our place till they close at like 10 o'clock. So like not looking forward to doing that if it's full capacity, 50,000 people. So I'm really hoping they knock it down to like a quarter or a half.
You can have all those Vita games you bought, so you can just take that with you.
Yeah. I have a Vita and a PSP. They're actually behind me on the shelf, so I could take those and not go to the bathroom for 10, 12 hours.
There you go. But that's my biggest concern, though, is capacity in these places. And like, I think of the last time I saw Foo Fighters at the Prudential Center, where the Devils play over in Newark. And it, like, the idea of being in a crowd of that many people again kind of freaks me out right now.
Oh yeah,
like,
when I'm into a store and it's super packed, I'm like uncomfortable. Like,
yeah, I don't know when it's going to get back to that. Like, my other thing is, like, a lot of bands I saw, and I saw Living Color within the past 10 years. I can't remember when it was. At a bar, at a little tiny bar in central Jersey somewhere, in a place that doesn't even exist. It's now a housing development. like the place is gone at this point. But I was literally 2 feet away. I could have reached out and touched any of the band members. I was like, this is insane. So I miss being able to see live bands in small places like that. And I miss being able to go to bigger shows. We were supposed to go. I had tickets for Silver Sun Pickups in Brooklyn. It was going to be a pain in the ass to go. And I had set this up because they were playing a couple different nights. And I was like, look, it's a Friday night. We'll drive over to your parents' house. We'll drop off the kids. You and I will go see the show. And then I will drop you back at your parents' house, and then I'll come home. And that was early to mid-March of 2020. So we didn't get to go because it was right there. They hadn't shut anything down yet, but everything was starting to happen. And she's like, are you serious? You want to be in a crowd of people right now with everything that looks like it's happening right now? And I was like, but what are the chances it's in Brooklyn? Like, at this show, you know?
No, dude, I had the same thing. I did C2E2, the comic convention, end of February. And I remember we were there and a little uncomfortable, but it hadn't quite hit the US yet, or Chicago particularly.
Yeah.
And I just remember people making offhand comments about like, well, this will be the last time we do this for a while. And the idea that I was at a convention last year just blows my fucking mind. And they canceled this year's, or they delayed it till December 12th, which I feel like is like not going to happen. But like, even the idea of going to a full capacity comic convention is just I can't think of it, but I want it.
I can't fathom New York Comic Con at this point. There's no way. And I've said this before, and it's a fact. New York Comic Con, in terms of attendance, is bigger than San Diego Comic Con.
Yes,
by far. And you've seen. Well, it's also because Javits Center is much bigger than San Diego and their little convention center. So it's staggering. I mean, it's jam packed in there, like all weekend long, and I can't imagine being in a crowd like that anytime in the next 2-3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd be comfortable. It's weird. So yeah. I miss that.
Yeah, I think we're all just looking forward to not feeling uncomfortable and weird in areas. So all right.
That'd be nice.
So yeah, that's our show. It's tremendously longer than it normally is, but that's what you get when we get Josh and the 3 people, and the three of us. not that Josh is 3 people, but he's close. So
hey. I've been losing weight.
Minecraft
I've been laying in a bed.
This man has 3 Minecraft saves.
All right, you can follow us on
That's 3 on one platform.
on social medias. The main account is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's account is at The First MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt, and Josh's is at PJF Josh. A little bit more silent than normal, but every once in a while he goes on these 2-day benders.
It's not. I don't have a whole lot to say, and every once in a while there's something to say or something cool that I saw.
Yeah. You can join our Facebook group, like we mentioned. The link's in the description. You can join the Discord channel. The link's in the description. Patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. $1 tip jar, $3 Discord access, $5 it gets you 24-hour early access to the show, the weekly show, and then $7 gets you the monthly bonus episode. Like we kind of joked about, like we've got a Mighty Ducks one, we've got a Spider-Man spoiler cast for the games, E3 memories, food debates, holiday things. So if you sign up for that tier, you get access to all of those now. It's like 7, 8, or 9 episodes that we've done already. And as well as all the other tiers that are available. So if you're in the $7 one, you get the $5 benefit, the $3 benefit. So consider that if you so choose. But as always, like Patreon support is never expected. It's always appreciated. But do not support us if you financially aren't able to. Just don't use that money for what you need to do. Pay your rent. Do the stuff like that's not important. It's just an extra benefit for us. Teespring's link is in the show notes as well, where you can pick out some t-shirts and some hoodies. Josh, thank you very much for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me.
So we'll have to,
like I said, it's fun.
We'll have to like not wait 9 months to do it again, which I don't think it was 9 months, but it was close. So
yeah, I got to talk to Joel too. I had fun on there. I had fun on there. I'm sure
a band of gamers would love to have you back. So.
You have time right now, Josh.
I do. I do right now. Yeah.
But other than that, that's what I have for this week. Michael, you got anything?
Just expect random stuff to pop on the feed over the next month because I'm a little bored right now, so I'm just like lining up interviews with random things. So expect random shit over the next couple.
Call it
couple
random.
weeks.
It'll still be you're a very good interviewer. So you're a very good interviewer. So in terms of doing an interview for a video game,
I just have a scatterbrained idea, and I have like 5 or 6 Twitter DMs going right now, trying to like line stuff up. So stuff's happening.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. I don't know if that went through, Josh.
I didn't hear it. So.
What? Damn it.
Nope. It was too quiet.
Bye.